Yo, what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 Day. Wishing you a happy Thursday. It is May 21st, and you guys know I keep bringing the heat, so we're bringing the heat once again today. But before we get into our featured guest, let me go through my shameless plugs. So, of course, the shameless plug section is where I plug all the advertising, which right now I don't have. So I'm just going to plug myself. Please follow My Song of the Day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The 30-second Song of the Day choices, where you're going to end up falling in love with bands you used to love, falling in love with bands you're going to love, fall in love with new songs, find out about new bands with Small Band Saturday, and also be able to connect with all the fans of those bands. You're going to be able to do that on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through our 30-second Song of the Day previews. Also, when podcast episodes get released and YouTube videos get released, you can find out there. On Instagram specifically, though, you can find out more because we ask you a lot of questions, along with Twitter as well. You guys can connect with us. On Instagram, we also do our IGTV series, which is a Tuesday night video series in which we get to do like a behind the scenes thing. You get to see what's going on behind the scenes here at My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 Day. And our Instagram live streams every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central. It's a 30-hour-long live stream that you get to come chill with us, hang out, talk music. It's fun. So link description below of the video and in the podcast notes. Please follow us subscribe to us on YouTube as well, because you can watch these podcast videos there. Other things you do on YouTube is watch our videos like our album reviews, our band reviews, any kind of fun videos we put out every single Wednesday night. So you can go subscribe to that, link description below, and also listen to Chord Progression Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Soon to be Google Podcasts, actually. But now, before we continue, let me go to my intro for our featured guest. For our Small Band Saturday thing, he reached out to us and said, hey, I'm from the band Necessary Noise. Ends up, he is the band Necessary Noise with his first song, K, that was out there. I'm like, yeah, we'll feature it. I liked it. End up getting to contact him, know him, and yes, he is our featured guest. And what is now the longest and, well, most wacky and wild chord progression podcast that we have had, in my opinion, because, guys, about 2 hours in, there's a bunch of dogs that appear. How many dogs? Not one, not two, but three. So please give it up, give a warm welcome, and prepare yourselves for a great time listening to my interview with Necessary Noise founder and everything doer, Jordan Pascual. Are you guys ready to listen? You guys ready to watch? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, we've got another great episode up for you today with one of our Small Band Saturday members, the band Necessary Noise. Here with us today is the founder of the band and one of his dogs right now, Jordan Pascual. Jordan, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you, Kev. Good to have you. You like Kev or Kevin? Which one's the best?
If you can alternate between one or the other. Everyone usually goes with Kevin. I've heard Kev, K-Dog, K-Dot, K-Bot. I mean, I've heard a bunch of them.
Good, man. I'll alternate just to throw you off.
We'll see if you throw me off though, because always at some point during one of these podcasts, I usually end up messing up at least somewhere down the line. We'll see where it happens this time, but
yeah, man, can't wait.
That's a risk we had to be willing to take. So before we really get into everything, why don't we get a nice introduction from yourself so everyone here listening knows exactly who you are.
What's up? So yeah, my name is Jordan Pascual. I'm originally from Iowa, and I moved here to the San Francisco Bay Area. I like to alternate between the both of them, but yep, just me and the band. I have a couple live guys that I love quite dearly, but I make pretty much all of the music in my band called Necessary Noise. So, and I might actually try to pull up a t-shirt for my thing because I have some merch that I have to get rid of. So,
and by have to get rid of, you mean have some of these nice fans here purchase off of you, correct?
Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Oh, we can
Yep.
I'll say we can definitely do some sort of like fashion show merch, 15 minutes here.
You know what we should do? Don't want to put you on the spot, but a couple weeks ago, I did a little giveaway thing. So if anybody wants a free t-shirt, like maybe we could do a giveaway or something.
We can do something like that. We can figure it out.
I like giving free stuff to cool people. So that's me. Let's do it.
hey, you're paying it forward too, because all of a sudden you give free stuff to cool people. They're gonna be like, hey, we got free stuff from this guy Jordan from Necessary Noise. Let's see what the heck's gonna happen with this. They start listening to your music. They're like, oh shit, we like this pop punk sound. Hell yeah! And all of a sudden they start listening to more and more. They start letting their friends know, and next thing you know, everyone's got a Necessary Noise T-shirt.
Exactly, man. That's kind of the goal, I guess. So.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the goal is to have as many people listening and enjoying your music as much as possible. So
yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what you signed up for when you want to be musicians, just kind of expressing your art and getting it out to as many people as you can. So.
And not that, but seeing how many people's lives you can touch at the same time as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, from the music you like, from the music I like, from the artists that we really listen to on our own, it's everybody has a couple of artists, maybe 1, 2, 3 of those artists where you listen to them every single time and you're always going to just remember certain things or feel certain ways whenever you listen to them.
Yeah, music is like pretty crazy how it impacts people and just the cathartic nature of it. So agreed. It touches many people.
So let's go into some of that background on you. So what kind of what bands or what music really influenced you to really, want to be a musician and then also create Necessary Noise and go with the certain sound that you did?
Good question. So originally I was in a pop punk band with my buddies in middle school and a little bit of high school. And, I don't know. We liked a lot of stuff from the Bay Area. Like we like Rancid. Early at that time, we were listening to like a lot of Skank and Fickle and a lot of Asian Man Records bands. But like as things progressed, like I really found out about like I knew Green Day like a little bit, but I really started listening to them in high school and like Dookie and Insomniac and stuff. So listened to that stuff, really liked it, and then just so happened to move to the Bay. My Chemical Romance was like is still a huge influence on me. Love that band. Just like that 2000s emo pop punk genre was kind of my go-to. I also like listen to a lot of metal, so that kind of blends into things like more classic metal than anything else. But yeah, let's see. Coheed and Cambria was pretty big on me. The band Brand New was pretty influential. I really like Devil and God Rages Inside Me. Super influential album. But yeah, just a couple of those. I could list off hundreds, but from each genre. But I'd say that's what mostly influenced like the style I write, I guess.
I mean, I think both of us could easily go off and just start rallying off at least 100 to maybe 150 bands. It's just like, oh, I listen to some of this stuff and all of a sudden, boom, it's just like, I really like this, or let into something else, let into more. We could just keep going back and forth all day. Heck, we could do a whole 2-hour podcast just trading stories like that if we really wanted to.
Dude. What was your first band that you listened to, like that really got you into like liking music and stuff?
It's kind of a little bit of an interesting thing because I always grew up listening to a lot of 70s and 80s rock because that's what my dad would listen to. I mean, right. I think because his favorite band is Electric Light Orchestra, though for some reason he never would listen to them with me and my brother. We were always listening to Van Halen, ZZ Top, hair metal bands like Poison. We were always listening to Rush, The Police. Like we were always listening to that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I was getting into that. But then all of a sudden, as I was getting it, kind of starting to like form my own musical taste, I always remember playing video games because that's always what I did when I was a kid. There were 2 games that always stick out in my mind. It was NASCAR Thunder 2004, and I think it was SmackDown versus Raw 2006. Reason being is because on NASCAR Thunder 2004, the first song that you always heard played was I Hate Everything About You by 3 Days Grace. Okay, right. So I was like, I kind of started getting into that. And then for SmackDown vs. Raw 06, there was like 3 or 4 songs off of 1X on there. So I'm like, okay, I'm really into this. But I really didn't fully get into it, like a whole band as, crazy as I did up until I was in middle school when I was playing Guitar Hero 3. And all of a sudden you got to like the 7th set, which was like the heavy, which was like, like the more new metal, more modern metal set. Because they had, it was, yes, there we go. He's got the Guitar Hero 2 guitar.
I'm literally doing spring cleaning. I just found those. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to play some tonight.
I gave my brother all the stuff because he took the Wii and the PS2 with him and all the games, because almost all the games are mine, and I made him a fair trade. I said you can take those 2. I'm taking the Nintendo 64. Bing bang boom, I won because I love that system. Yeah, but back to like I remember on that 3rd set for Guitar Hero 3, it was like Before I Forget by Slipknot was on there.
Yeah. Slipknot's huge for me too because of Iowa.
Yeah,
next 2 albums of I just love Slipknot, Self-Titled, and Iowa, dude. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Then Threes and Sevens by Queens of the Stone Age was on there. Nights Sidonia by Muse. And then I can't remember the fifth one. I think it was Monsters by Matchbook Romance. But then the second song on that set was one that always caught my eye right away. And it was Stricken by Disturbed.
Yeah.
So I love the way it sounded. I love David Draymond's vocals. And I just started going further down the rabbit hole with Disturbed as well. Plus, where I went to school for middle school, it was like all the kids were listening to more of that, like whatever was popular at the time. Like, but Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, I think Rihanna was starting to get big at that time as well. So a lot of stuff around that. And for a time, I kind of tried listening to some of that stuff to try and fit in. But then all of a sudden I heard Disturbed. I'm like, I'm going that route because that route suits me so much more. And I did get in trouble bringing the Indestructible album into school one day because I went to a Catholic school.
Yeah, with that, like, the shadowy face and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, there was a thing where we had this, like, I was in 8th grade and it was, okay, we had these cards. We had to write our names on. One of my teachers, she'd randomly pull a card out just like to pick a kid. She pulled mine out for the first time and on my card, I drew the guy. Like, if you look at Disturbed's album cover for Indestructible, I drew the guy.
That's cool.
I kind of got in trouble for that one. Oh, yeah. Well, I actually got in trouble for when I brought it because it was like, we always had like a once a week. We always had this like 45-minute period where you could listen, where we had like, it was just, like a resource thing, like a resource period or like a study hall period.
Right.
And once a week, it was someone could bring in like a album or a CD that they like and we could play it. Of course, the first person brings in something like Carrie Underwood. The next person, I don't even remember what they brought in. I was third and I brought in Indestructible. So I remember playing the first two songs. I wasn't going to play Deceiver because David Draymond just says fucking like right in like the first like 30 seconds. So I had the little like boombox because that's what it was. It was an old boombox right next to me. So when they got to Deceiver, I was going to hit next, but all of a sudden, right as Inside the Fire was ending, the plug got pulled out. I was like, what the hell? All of a sudden, there's my teacher with the plug pulled out. And she takes out, she's like, I need to speak with you in the back. I'm like,
oh no.
I didn't care if I was in trouble or not. What I cared about was, am I getting my CD back? Because I actually paid for it.
That reminds me of so many stories, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into religion and stuff, but yeah, my parents are pretty devout Christian and I consider myself too, but like they were really strict on me when I was a kid with just like music, non-secular music. And, I respect them for that and their decisions, but man, oh man, when I brought home a Marilyn Manson CD, that was my friend. That shit got crushed, dude. It was like, the best of. And I still like quite a few of those Marilyn Manson songs and stuff, but man, they would go through and pick apart every song, be like, no. Like my teachers were like okay with rock and stuff, but I lived in a town of like 2,200 people and it was like really small. So people didn't get rock, it was like, that's really weird. That's like not what we listen to. We listen to country and stuff and like maybe like 2000s Beyonce and shit. So I get that.
Yeah, but did your parents ever, like, when you were listening to some music, they ever just like come in and like take whatever music you were listening to, like, you can't listen to this? Do you have any stories like that?
Yeah, I was a sneaky little bastard when I was a child, though. I was terrible, dude. Like, I would sneak so many CDs in my house. Actually, one of my favorite stories, and God bless my parents, but I had a first act combo amp I bought from Walmart, and it had like a what do you call it, a closed back for the little 8-inch speaker. And so I sat there and I bought like 20 CDs from Best Buy. It was like The Life on the Murder Scene by My Chem. There was a Disturbed CD. Which one's the one with like all the people?
10,000 Fists.
10,000, yeah. I knew it was 10,000 something. I bought a Tool CD, it was Undertow, and then let's see what else. System of a Down CD, a Tenacious D CD, their first self-titled. There's a whole bunch of albums that my parents did not want me to listen to. And I was like, oh no, but I got them from this other town, so I need to get them inside my house. How am I going to do that? Because my parents searched my backpack. So I unscrewed the back of the amp, put it inside the amp, and I made sure that I would carry the amp inside. But my stepdad is like really intuitive, and he can like smell deceit from like a mile away. So like me carrying my little amp just up to my room, like, yeah, guys, it's good to see you again, whatever. And then about a day or two later, I come home from school and my amp is just like destroyed. I'm like, oh no, they found my CD collection. And yeah, funny enough, just as a token, I still have them because I would continuously like try to hide them from my parents and like, but I still have the slipcases and the CDs. So
oh my god,
they
that
held
is hilarious.
them for me for like 6 or 7 years up in this big bin in the upstairs of our attic, and I finally got him when I was 18. I was a bad child. I also just wanted to listen to my music, and like I'll fight to death for that. But like, my parents have. I mean, I write some darker stuff too. With now that I'm really a musician, and they still don't quite get it. But we've had like actual intellectual conversations to be like, this is not what I mean. This is what I'm trying to display. This is like an art thing. I'm not saying I'm going to kill everybody or something like, or that I hate this person. I hate this. It's just like, this is just an expression form, So
yeah, and I think a good song to kind of like that's really going off right now that really you can kind of feel something like that is like Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse, where it's Ronnie Radke trying to describe like what he was feeling, when just kind of like how he feels when everyone's kind of against him and he's just trying to make sure he's still doing what he wants to do, and everyone's looking at him trying to always like, oh, if something's going wrong or something's not right, who do we bash? Ronnie Radke. It's just like feels like the Popular Monster kind of type, and it's like, no, he's not going to go and just like completely destroy everybody like he did in the video, but it's just like, you know what? Yeah. He just kind of expressed how he feels. And I've seen a lot of people go online about how, they were feeling something similar like that and they weren't trying to describe it. But then all of a sudden this gives their feeling a tangible description where if they're trying to describe it to someone, they can say, listen to this song. This is what it feels like.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound too ill-informed or anything. I think a lot of that, at least in the Bible Belt in the Midwest, really started with Columbine, with Marilyn Manson, just because of how like, in Doom, the video game, like, the Doom the video game, Marilyn Manson, like all like any sort of things that are a little bit edgy kind of like just got destroyed just because of Columbine, where like all the moms and dads and just like America and like Eminem's Marshall Mathers too, just because of his little provocative lines in there where he's just like, and parents just didn't understand like, oh, that's provocateur, that's just kind of shock. That's what
and I mean, when it comes to Manson, you take a look at some of the stuff that he's created too, even back, when he first started, or back when he was real popular in the 90s with something like The Beautiful People. I mean, you take a look at the video. I mean, that's just shock value to its core. And when Columbine happened, I think it was something where, I don't want to get too like, politically opinionated on it, but I was going to put out a little bit of this. I think it was something where people weren't sure exactly what to blame or what to think about it. And when someone or like someone in the media or someone that had more influence out there kind of geared the conversation towards something like Marilyn Manson's provocative stuff or some like Eminem's provocative stuff with the lyrics, like they just kind of latched onto that. And then a good amount of parents just like, no, and try to basically do what has happened a lot right now with other people that, aren't really going well with society, like that cancel culture kind of thing. Like kind of like tried to do that about 20 years ago. But what ends up happening is especially when it comes to music, and if it's an older generation trying to say, no, don't listen to this, what's the younger generation going to do?
Yeah, they're going to, of course, do it.
They're just going to do it.
Yeah, that's the point of rebelling. And just, America is founded on rebellion anyway. So, and just with everything in today's culture, once again, not to get political or anything, but it's just that what you said, we all as human beings need meaning, and that's why people latch onto whatever. They just can't comprehend, oh my God, this person was just so messed up because of these, past events in their life. They always want to put like, oh, it's because of music. Oh, it's because of video games. Oh, it's because of violent movies. And, honestly, it's just messed up things happen. And I don't want to say turn good people to monsters, but it's just some people are also, like Ted Bundy. I was just watching that new Netflix special. I'm like, yeah, that guy was pretty born evil. I don't know if I ever, could blame anything but him on that. He was trying to blame like the pornographic industry on just like, yeah, porn made me do it. It's like, no, dude, you killed all these people because you wanted to kill them. Like that was you, dude. Stop blaming on anything but you. So
and kind of going back to where the music comes in, where exactly. When it comes back to music, it's just with some of that stuff, even more the provocative stuff too. Again, like I was saying earlier, it gives some of those tangible things a voice, because there were times where it's like I was just like, I'm trying to think of a good example. This was 2017, so it was right before I started all this stuff, because I was dealing with a whole bunch of depression and sometimes and suicidal tendencies at the time. And there were a couple of songs I'd listened to, and it was kind of giving more inspiration to the feelings of trying to, just get through it and beat it. However, there were some songs that really kind of put out more of the tangible feelings to me if I was trying to describe something. So like if I was trying to describe kind of what I was dealing with, And I was trying to say to someone, if I would have thought of it, I would have used Heavy by Linkin Park to really put that out there in terms of that. But when it came to trying to like get past it and beat it and, you know, just basically get back to being who I am. I mean, two songs that I can think of top of my head would be Attack by 30 Seconds to Mars and Not Gonna Die by Skillet. It was just like those two songs, just the way they were constructed, just perfectly encapsulated the feeling of I'm not going to let this defeat me. So I was just like, here we go. And I listen to those. I mean, if I go on a good old iTunes and still look at my like top 25 of all time most played playlist, both of those songs are on there and they're kind of high on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like lyrics just it's amazing the power they have on you. Like just when you're, especially when you're going through things and like just the different expressions, like even like something like more angry and volatile can make you feel better as some sort of release. Like for me as a kid too, I mean, that's why I write music this day. It's like, it's still my release form, you know, for me to get things out that like, maybe I'm feeling really violent. So let me write some super gnarly, distorted, you know, really dissonant chord structured songs. And there's nothing better to me than like releasing emotions, even though you feel like you can't, because I'm usually pretty quiet towards people. Like, I don't know. I just don't like expressing my emotions unless it's somebody I really know. And yet that, you know, being able to express those through music is just essential. And it's also good for the person who might be feeling the same thing halfway across the country. So.
Oh, easily. I mean, when you take a look at, you go to concerts and we go to concerts, everyone goes to concerts, but when you go to those shows, you see how many people really resonate with the music the same way you do as well. Whether it's, I mean, you go to a show where it's just people are kind of just, it's like a normal rock show where it's, you know, you're not going absolutely crazy. People are kind of standing around, rocking out, having a good time with who they're around. Or you go to something like a punk rock show or a metal show where all of a sudden you get people going crazy and you also get a nice big mosh pit going in between, and just seeing how just that kind of, how basically when it comes to metal especially, just kind of how the rawness of it, and punk rock as well with the rage behind it, just how sometimes it kind of like just lets people let loose and just, you know, especially in a concert, getting a mosh pit, just start bouncing around a bunch of people, you know, getting hit or even like delivering the hits at the same time too. And I mean, I love all of it. So right now during this time where no concert going on, I'm just like, I'm really itching to get in a freaking mosh pit and hit somebody. And then all of a sudden, like 10 seconds later, I'll just get knocked flat on my ass and I'll be like, you okay, man? Yeah, just pick me up.
Oh my God. Do you want, I actually have a really funny story of my very first show that really exposed me to punk, that got me into music. Kind of going back to the question, I guess. Iowa had a hardcore scene. It still does, kind of, but it was really strong. And there's a place called, no, it wasn't at the 1108 house. It was a different show. But there was just this house show, and I'd never been to a local show. I've been to a Styx concert and I think an AC/DC concert. That's it. And it's completely different from a local show.
Oh yeah.
And just, way different. And I went to this hardcore punk band. I think I still have their sticker. They're called Reviver. And they had like this green album cover. And I had never really been exposed to that style of hardcore punk before, especially in the local scene. And I go there and like, I guess I created kind of a legend there because there was like 25 people at the house show or whatever in a living room. But one guy, like they're thrashing around and like, this is my first time seeing a mosh pit like in my life. And I'm like, oh my God. But I'm like, okay, I'll do it because I'm like around my friends. This guy fucking nails me in the eye and I had a black eye for like 2 weeks. Everybody's like, yeah, man, you okay? Okay, get up, man. I'm like the 7th grade kid, just like getting in this mosh pit with like college kids and stuff. And that was like the first time I'm like, okay, so it's violent music, but everybody helps each other out. That's really cool. I should check more of this stuff out. And that's what really got me like liking hardcore in the local scene. So
yeah, and what, like for me, it's, I always, when I was growing up, like, especially when I was starting to get into more of my stuff, it was right when I got in high school, like punk rock ended up becoming my thing, where I was listening to like Anti-Flag, Pennywise, Against Me. Rise Against is still my favorite band through and through. That's never going to change. I mean, I'm so stuck on it. It's insane. But then, you know, I was getting to, like going to see some Rise Against shows, and all of a sudden, you know, I never really started getting the pit until maybe I was in college. And then all of a sudden, right after, like when I was basically in the midst of my depression, I went to go see Rise Against. I think it was like my 6th or 7th time seeing them live, and all of a sudden it was like I got in the pit and it just felt so damn good. all of a sudden starting this project, I started getting exposed to a little bit more metalcore stuff. Once the metalcore stuff hit, that was just a complete game changer on my end. Because all of a sudden I was going to some more metalcore shows. Like I went to go see Atreyu and Motionless in White, and holy crap. I was getting bounced around the pit left and right. I was having fun. There was some kid during Motionless in White's, the second last song. The kid was like, someone hit me. I literally just looked at him like, okay. Ran into him, shoulder checked him. I saw his head just like snap on the ground. I'm like, oh, fuck. Dude. He's like, I'm good. And he was kind of something like, no, dude, you need to sit out. You need to sit out the rest of the show. He's like, I'm good. I'm like, no, dude. There's one more song left after this. I can tell you exactly what it's going to be. Just sit down and just like, you're going to be done.
Yeah.
His two friends took him down, sit him down. All of a sudden they start playing Eternally Yours. And there's like, it's basically in the pit. It ended up being like 10 like just gigantic guys with their shirts off and me. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be fun. And I was still delivering some good hits, but I was just getting knocked around consistently. I didn't fall down though. I was just happy about it. And I was having fun. Second time though, seeing Most of White, their opener after the Burial. That's why I almost cut my eye open on that one. That one was fun though.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, it makes me miss shows, man. Like I did an IG live thing, but it was just not the same. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. And I'm still going to continue doing them during the time, but nothing beats just a good old fashioned mosh, and just like 924 Gilman's like my home. And I think they're actually doing a stream right now. I should check out, but yeah, dude, like there's nothing like an actual like good old fashioned mosh pit at a real show, you know?
No, and that was one other thing too, when I've been reading a bunch of things when it comes to concerts coming back with all the different provisions they're putting in there. There was I think it was Live Nation put out a whole entire thing where they contacted a bunch of different promoters, a bunch of different venue owners, trying to come up with an idea of like, okay, what should be like a standard guidelines for when we first return to concerts. And it was all of it. Just looked at it and I just looked at them like, this is absolutely horrible for rock and metal shows and all their subgenres, because with how much angst and rage is put into the shows like that, you're going to get people wanting to mosh. The energy doesn't work unless everyone's kind of packed in together, because you can really feel it. And it's just like, okay, everyone's going to have to be 6 feet apart. There's no crowd surfing, no moshing. And it's like, okay. And then when you get in, it's like people are going to slowly have to come in. They're going to have to get exited out like you would on an airplane. I'm just like, this does not look good going forward. And then I can't remember who it was from Attila just put out a whole entire like 3 or 4 tweet for a thread, just kind of just going off on, okay, it's going to be different. And for metal, it's not going to be good, because with everything that works with metal, it doesn't work unless everyone can just freely do what they want. Yeah, because you're going to get people that want to watch the show and enjoy. You're going to get people that want to mosh and enjoy, but everyone has to be packed together for something like that to happen. And when you're doing the social distancing thing, people can't get close to each other. You don't really feel that kind of energy. And all of a sudden he's like, and I forgot who it was, but there was someone else that posted, like, can you imagine just kind of like going up and being like, all right, you got to stay 6 feet apart from each other. This song is, and you're just trying to like go off like crazy. But all of a sudden you just see people just standing there. It just doesn't, it's not going to feel the same. Even when
doing like the Peanuts dance, like just doing their thing. Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah. And the other thing is just like how they're going to police that. And like, I see myself playing a show and then like people are trying to like do something. And then all of a sudden, like the promoter or the person running sound's going to be like, hey, no, you guys can't apart. Like we get that at grocery stores. Like I just can't imagine that at a show, and at a metal show or a high energy performance show, that's not going to work if people are being policed around. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that works, you know?
Yeah, because like I'm thinking some of the shows I go to, it's like I can't imagine that being the way. Like if I went to go see Anti-Flag again, or if I went to go see Ice Nine Kills again, they would not be the same. And I've seen like drive-in concerts, like a drive-in movie. It'd be like it's kind of like the only way I'm gonna really feel good about it is if all of a sudden I enter my car in the Demolition Derby.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're gonna have a mosh pit with cars, but all of a sudden my insurance is gonna go up, my bills are gonna go up, and well, I don't really want to have that happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I just thought about? I was thinking about like, you know, the worst, not worst, but like the best situations I've been in where it's just like, oh my God, you can't breathe, like really amazing shows. And one of them was God, I can't remember. Every Time I Die. That was like a really packed show. But The 12-year-old girls at a Billie Eilish show, dude, you don't want to fucking mess with those chicks. Those guys will murder you.
Wait,
Like,
what?
oh my God. I was near the front at a Billie Eilish show and those girls claw at you. I was like, it's because I was like, it's a long story that I can't really get into, but
Get into as much as you can because I'm really interested. Get into as much as you can with this because I don't want to push you to go like, give too many details if you can't get too many details. But I like, especially when it comes to like, these 12-year-old girls like clawing at you. I kind of want to know what the hell happened.
Okay. So I know somebody in the Billie Eilish camp who's really cool and they got me in and it was a sold out show in Minneapolis, funny enough, at, is it Armory?
Oh, was that the Armory?
Yeah, I was at the Armory.
Oh,
and
that's a great venue.
It's just going to be Midwest girls, not a big deal. Billie just dropped the debut album, and I didn't know what to expect because I'm like, yeah, she's cool. I like it, or, I like their camp. That's cool. And I go in, and I'm near the front already, and all of a sudden she comes on. Oh, no, it was the opening act, and already, like, you're super squeezed in, like, near the front. But, dude, there were 12-year-old girls peeing in like I think a Ziploc bag in the audience, in the crowd, and like putting it on the floor and you could smell the urine. Like 12-year-old girls don't fuck around with Billie Eilish, dude. Like this is before she really, really broke. She just released Bad Guy like a week before that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she wasn't like the sensation. But yeah, 12-year-old girls do not fuck around. And I remember like somebody around that age demographic, like there were these other girls I was with and she just gave me the dirtiest eyes because we were like somebody in front of us moved forward. So we all moved forward. She's like, oh my God, you can't do that. You can't move forward. And you can't bring your friends with you. I'm like, dude, it's fine. It's just a show, man. Like, I'm not like, I'm just going with the flow of the crowd. But when she came on stage, I will never forget the rush to the front and the claws. Like, I think I might even still have a scratch from that day.
No.
I feel like there was quite a few. No, that's not it. Yeah, right there. You can't see it in the light, but there's one right there. It's just like a tiny little, like, she gashed me. And I turned around and it was just this little shrimpy, like, 4'5" girl, 4'5" girl. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I gotta see her. I'm like, dude, she's right there. Like, she's like 10 feet away from us. 10 feet versus like 8 feet. Does it really matter?
I have to get 6 feet away.
Now it's you gotta stand 6 feet away, but we're going to see how that works at the next Billie Eilish show, man. I will go to that one for sure. I can't wait just to see all the 12-year-old girls not peeing in bags, standing 6 feet away.
Well, I mean, I'll put it this way. That's not the only time I've heard of, concert goers and fans when it comes to like, they're in the crowd, they're in the pit with everybody or just like on the floor, not really in the pit, but on the floor. Cause I've had people I've worked with beforehand at at my old full-time job. I've had a different full-time job now that I can do a lot more of this stuff as well. So it makes me happy. Cool. But like in my old full-time job, a couple of people I worked with, they talked about how they went to this concert here in Milwaukee. I forgot what country artist was there, but it was just like, they're like, that's what people were doing. It was just like, if they had to go to the bathroom, all of a sudden everyone pulled out their beer cups and just kind of went in the middle. I'm just like, and I'm like, what happened if people puked? It's like, same thing. I was like, oh, Lordy, no. But but it's like, I when it comes to those packed shows too, because when you spoke about the Armory, I was there I was in Minneapolis at the end of October to see Beartooth, I Prevail in a Day to Remember. Cool. And that was packed as all hell. And of course I get there like right as there was a band that was opening before me. I can't remember who it was. So I got there right as they got on and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Let's see what happens. And my buddy and I, we met up with a couple of his friends, two of my friends from high school that moved to Minneapolis. They were there. So I got to see them. All of a sudden Beartooth comes on. I'm just like, holy shit. I gotta get closer for this just because we were further in the back, but like all the pushing and shoving and all the action was way up front. So I'm like, I gotta make my way up there somehow. By the time A Day to Remember came on, I don't know how the hell this happened. I was away from everyone I knew. And I was right up front. I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yep. It's cool getting front, man. I get that.
But I do miss those shows where it's like I've been the one show that I can distinctly remember where it was people were packed so tightly in that it was like it was hard just to keep your footing. Was I was at Riot Fest in 2019 and this was gonna be Slayer's last performance in the Milwaukee, Chicago area, but instead of going and like camping out by the stage that they were going to be at, right before they went on the stage next to them, I decided to camp out at that one a little bit and wait for the band that was going to be on before Slayer was going to be on that stage, because it was Rise Against. So I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to go and do this. Of course. Holy shit. It was right when Rise Against started. I was close to the front, but it was just like, I got smushed in, and I was just getting, like, by the time, like, halfway through the set, I was being moved around so many different ways. I'm like, how the fuck am I doing this? I didn't know what the hell was going on. Getting pushed around. People were passing out left and right. And, the event security and staff, like, they couldn't get to these people that are passed out and need medical attention. So what did we do? We crowd surfed them to the front. We just picked them up, just send them. And oh man, that worked out like a charm. Even Tim McGrath kind of called out. He's like, are you guys just sending the passed out people to the front? He's like, if you see someone passed out and you can get them up, please send them to the front to get medical attention. It's like, yeah, we're going to do it.
However, to the front, they're like,
however, with like 6 songs left, all of a sudden I saw people creating a little bit of a pit. I'm just like, I want to go there for 3 reasons. 1, it's actually a pit and I want to hit somebody. 2, there is more space now over there. And 3, it's hot, it's humid, you get a little bit more space. It's probably gonna be a little bit cooler over there. Let me go. Yeah. So I actually had people like open up a little lane for me so I could get there. All of a sudden I got there and I had this little string on my arm. So I ended up hitting some guy, and all of a sudden I was going one way and my arm went with him. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, the string on my wrist was still attached to like a zipper on his backpack somehow. I was like, how the hell does that happen? So I had to make a decision, either try and finagle it out or just rip it and hope either the string ripped or the zipper ripped. I'm like, screw it. I just ripped it, and all of a sudden I had a huge zipper on there. I'm like, huh? Oh man, but it was great. That was so much fun. I'm like, man, I was trying to talk to someone that I know that is closely tied with Rise Against. I'm like, are they playing at Riot Fest again this year? Reason I want to know is because we've got My Chemical Romance is going to be there, and I need to know if I need a 1-day ticket or get the 3-day pass, because I know what day Rise Against is playing. Yep. And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, so that happened. Yeah,
that's not happening.
So what's your opinion? What do you think is going to happen for most of the bands? Like, I mean, I personally think Riot Fest and stuff's going to get canceled, but that's just me. But
Well, because I'm taking a look at it, and it's like all the Danny Wimmer Presents festivals except Aftershock have been canceled. So, because I know was it Sonic Tempo was supposed to be this weekend? Welcome to Rockville, and what was the other? Epicenter were already supposed to have happened, but those got canceled. Louder Than Life, which is the biggest one out of all of them, got canceled, and that's at the end. That's in end of September. I know Aftershock they haven't said anything about yet. Riot Fest, I haven't heard anything on yet, so I'm curious to see what happens. Yeah, that's the weekend after Labor Day is always Riot Fest. Gotcha. And then there's 2 here in Wisconsin with Rock Fest and Rock USA. They're both on the same weekend. And it's their June 16th, 17th, 18th, I think. And they haven't been canceled yet either, because my buddy's trying to get me to go to Rockfest with them, and I kind of want to go, but I'm just like, I'm not sure if they're even going to have it, just because it's July. Who knows what's really going on? I mean, stuff's starting to open up now slowly, but I don't think it's going to get to that capacity, especially with that many people in the concentrated area at that time. So, I mean, when it comes to these major festivals, I think Aftershock out in California, where we're in the Bay Area where you are, I think it definitely has a shot, but I think it's the best shot out of all of them. But it's not that. I'm saying it has a shot, but I don't think it's that great of a shot.
It's doubtful. It might happen. I don't know. I'm just. I mean, all this stuff happened within it really blew up in March and April. Mm-hmm. And I mean, here we are in May, in the middle of May already. Wow, that happened fast. But I don't know. Yeah, we have 4 months. 4 months. And if it's, I mean, the thing is, it's not declining. It's just like, I guess we're just going back. I don't want to get into that too much, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just picked up really quickly. So. Well, I don't think it's dying down necessarily.
Well, I mean, just to kind of put one thing in there is I know the original part of the whole entire lockdown was just to not overwhelm the healthcare system, because there is no vaccine there's no vaccine or no real proven treatment that the general public knows of. I'll put it that way, because I don't want to get into that can of worms. I mean, if you want to get in that can of worms,
conspiracy.
If you want to get in that can of worms, I mean, if you want to, I mean, if Alex Jones is still doing InfoWars or something like that,
is he still doing shit?
I don't even know. I haven't. If when it comes to that stuff, I would always kind of know what was going on a little bit, just because when I was at work in my old job, I would always listen to podcasts to try and get through the day a little bit easier, because I always hated it. And it was always like, oh, I'm listening to like Bill Burr's podcast or Gary Vaynerchuk's, or listening to Lead Singer Syndrome with Shane Toll. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, Joe Rogan as well. When he had guests I actually wanted to listen to, which was like half the time. So I'm like, okay, I'll listen to, this one. He'd have Alex Jones on one time, for like a 2-part episode. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. Elon Musk, I'm like, I want to listen to that. Anytime he has like Bill Burr, Burt Kreischer on there, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm listening to this because this is going to be funny. But they always end up bringing it up at some point down the line. I'm like, so I'd always kind of keep in touch. But then over the past like 6 months, I really fell off listening to podcasts, kind of focusing more on what I'm doing. So I'm like,
you're doing a podcast.
I know, exactly. So I'm like, I really don't know anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're not here to talk about politics. We're talking about music, goddammit.
Music, which sometimes get into politics, but still music.
Yeah, but then again, that's kind of the whole entire point of the podcast. If because I mean, that with right now what's going on, it's like that politics and what's going on with the music industry, especially the live music industry. Yeah, they're all interconnected right now. So, you can't kind of talk about it, but that's the way the conversation flows. So you just kind of got to go with it.
Yeah, exactly, man. I'm just hoping things, can open up safely. Like, I don't think we're ever going to go back to where we were, but damn it. I mean, the music industry, we have to figure something out, though, because I can't imagine going to a show actually 6 feet away from people. Like, it's already like sold out shows and stuff. How are you going to do that? You'd have to like cap the venues at like probably an eighth of their potential size.
Yeah, so. And these bands are going to want to play 8 shows at one place and get paid for one show, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't have a solution. I've thought about it quite a bit. I'm like, no, I got nothing, dude.
I'd say I've talked about it enough where it's just like, I think at some point we will get back to the point where it's like, where we were, just kind of like with freedom, but it's not going to be I don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah, if it dies down and like, we don't. If Corona's not actually that strain of Corona, the COVID-19 is not like there, maybe we can go back to normal.
Or if it's somewhere, it's like, it's somewhere we find a cure for it, find a vaccine for it, and all of a sudden, like, enough people get it where we can kind of have that herd immunity thing going. If we can get something like that going. I mean, I'll put it this way. Pandemics have happened in the history of humanity beforehand. We've gotten through them. We got through the flu pandemic 100 years ago, so I think we can get through this one.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully our bodies just become immune to it, We just kind of like, oh yeah, COVID-19, forget about that. Murder hornets, however.
Oh, not the murder hornets.
Release the murder hornets.
I keep seeing all the memes. It's just like, okay, what happened? It was like January, almost World War III. February, the world deals with the death of Kobe Bryant. It was March, coronavirus. April, government says that Tom DeLonge was right and UFOs exist. May,
fucking nuts.
Murder hornets. It's like, what's coming in June now is like all of a sudden like spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, dude, spontaneous. It's like that episode of South Park where those people spontaneously combust. Dude. I can't wait, dude.
Oh my god.
I mean, we are just living a South Park episode. I think Matt and Trey just wrote like the whole world.
Dude, we're not living one South Park episode. We're living a whole season right now. We're on episode 5 right now, Murder Hornets.
Yep. And Kenny's dying in every episode.
Yeah. First, Kenny died because he was the only fatality in World War III. Then he died because after the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash, all of a sudden, like one piece got like flung and it like hit him in the head. Like, because there was one of the episodes. It's one of my favorites. The one where the girls come up with a list and rank the boys from cutest to ugliest. Yep. And there's like a whole thing at the end. Bebe and Wendy are on the rooftop with a gun and they fire it and they realize they didn't get hit. And all of a sudden, you see Kenny eating with his family
in his house. He fucking just gets hit.
He just gets hit in the head.
You can't see it over there, but I have every episode of South Park. I was going through a really bad depression stage, and it was my first real girlfriend in high school, and she hated South Park. And I'm like, I watched not a very good movie. I watched Basketball with this my coworker at the time. And I was like, these guys are kind of funny. It's a terrible movie, but I'll like check it out. And I just watched every episode of South Park and locked myself in my room. So now it's like my comfort food. So it kind of fell off the last couple of seasons. But that's just my opinion. But
when they were doing the whole entire like serialization of a season, that's when it kind of really fell off.
Yeah. It was the time when I moved from Iowa to Arizona to California that I was like, oh, this isn't like what it used to be ish. But I mean, I don't want to rat on the guys because I mean, they're amazing. They're talented. So But yeah, I kind of fell off. But still, some of the best things that I don't know, things I quote all the time, just South Park for real.
Oh yeah,
Like that thing you mentioned, that's one of my favorite moments, dude.
That's the reason that's one of my episodes. That's like basically the reason that episode's one of my favorites, just because that moment is so perfectly put in there. Because they didn't done a lot with Kenny dying in that season, but it was just like they always do. But all of a sudden, like it was just placed so perfectly that you weren't expecting it, but it hit. And then that season too, because I think that was season. Was that season 11? It was the one that had the
12.
because it was 11 because it was Imagination Land was in there.
Yeah.
There was the one where Randy Marsh went on Wheel of Fortune. That was the first episode.
That one. That was the first episode of the season too.
Yeah, that one was like oh my.
Bono is a piece of shit. That one was my first ever episode of South Park, and I was so enthralled. I was like, dude, this is awesome. It's like, what is this show about, man?
It's about whatever it wants to be.
Man, 11 was a good season.
I think the homeless one was in that one.
Yep.
The Easter. The Easter special was in that one too.
Yeah, there's a lot of good episodes in season 11, man. I do dig South Park. I might watch that or Tim and Eric tonight. I don't know if you know Tim and Eric, but
I don't really. No, I really don't watch Tim and Eric.
It's really weird. It's like avant-garde comedy stuff. But yeah, I might watch some South Park tonight. It's kind of like comfort food.
After this, I might pop on some Rick and Morty. Wubba lubba dub dub.
Yeah, yep. Good old Rick and Morty. Did you see the spinoff of that thing, or not spinoff? What is that actually? Basically, like you gotta see the ads, dude.
I've seen the ads. It's kind of like the South Park or like the Rick and Morty characters. It's like they're doing like a Family Guy American Dad type thing with it.
Yeah, something like that. It's like a Hulu original. So I don't know. I haven't seen anybody's reception to that thing yet. I'm kind of steering clear, but
the only thing I've seen on it was one of my friends. He said he was watching it while because he's trying to do this thing where he's trying to basically he has an exercise bike set up in his house in front of his TV. And starting 2 weeks ago, he was going to try and do the whole entire Tour de France on his exercise bike. So he's like, okay, I'm watching this. All of a sudden, 20 minutes later, had to switch back to Always Sunny.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, it's Always Sunny. So you're going to end up enjoying it somewhere down the line.
I really like what I've seen of that show. I've seen a couple of episodes. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I always love that show. Like when it pops on, I'm like, it's a good show.
Oh, I'm still partial to that show, especially the best episode. I still think, and no one agrees with me if I try and explain it, but the best episode is the one where they go when they do the whole entire like 1980s movie in the ski resort episode. They go skiing in the Poconos, and all of a sudden, Frank shows up pretending like he's trying to buy the mountain to like do this whole entire resort thing. Dennis ends up going with him and trying to like basically win the mountain for him. Mac and Dee go with the local like ski bum to try and like save the resort that's there right now, save the mountain. And Charlie's trying to figure out what side to be on. He has no idea. There's awesome. There is the greatest Charlie Kelly scene in there, and I really don't want to spoil it, but it is.
I might just watch that tonight along with some South Park. What season episode is that?
It's season 11. I think it's episode 3 of season 11. Okay.
Cool.
It's called
That's the hot season, man.
I know. I know the episode's called "The Gang Hits the Slopes." I know that's the name of the episode, though. Man, look at us. All of a sudden, we're talking music, and all of a sudden, we are dishing out our TV and basically our TV picks for everybody.
Entertainment. That's what it is.
It's all entertainment, man.
Yeah, man. That's good. What's your next music question, I guess?
Oh man, now you're getting back into music. I'm already stuck on TV.
It's on my brain. Talk about TV. I'm good with it.
Yeah, we'll go back into music because
we'll go back to TV at some point.
Well, of course. I mean, eventually, just the way this conversation's going, I mean, we're just flowing just fine. Exactly. So eventually, we're gonna end up going on some rants about TV again, whether it's something about some movie like The Dirt or something like that. We'll figure it out. But so. Because you're originally from Iowa, as you said, what was the main driver behind, okay, I want to get out of Iowa so I can go to Arizona, then move to California. Like, what was the main driver behind that? Even though, especially with the music scene being the most prevalent out in California, like, which is expected. So I was trying to see, like, if there's a difference. Like, what was the main driver? Like, I have to go out west. I have to go there.
Right. So my favorite television show. No, I'm just joking.
Well, that was quick.
No segue. So my favorite television. No, so funny enough, I right out of high school, I lived in this, like, I won't even call it cabin in the woods, like David Thoreau style, but it was really out in the middle of the woods. And like I know Wi-Fi, like barely need a cell phone signal, but I learned how to guitar tech and record some music, and just I feel like I kind of found like a little bit of my identity during that time. And that's right when I was starting the band out with my good buddy, Evan, who lives in Arizona now. So he scouted out Arizona and he was like, yeah, dude, you should come out here. The music scene's all right. Pretty cool. It was like Tempe Mesa area. And so then a year later after that, I moved out. And I found it cool. The Arizona heat is not my thing, but I'm also just a wuss with temperatures. But yeah, I had a good time there. It wasn't working out exactly. I mean, respect to Evan, his project's called Canids. It's really good. He does everything himself too. But he decided to focus more on that. And I decided, since I was writing all the material myself as well with Necessary Noise, I was like, okay, so I don't want to live in Arizona anymore. Not the biggest fan of the culture, the music scene. I'm just going to go. So that's when I moved to California. My aunt has this house and she rents it out. She lives in the Philippines, and I don't talk to her that often. She's on my dad's side, so I'm a little strange, but very thankful to her that I can have this house to like do my music stuff in. But yeah, she just wanted me to watch the house. So I had like a couple options, like, okay, do I go back to Iowa or do I go to this house and try things out? And I'm so thankful I did, just because the music scene out here, like, I didn't really know like how great the pop punk and, you know, just music scene in general was in the San Francisco Bay Area, but boy howdy, it's pretty cool. So, and like I just found a lot of friends out here. There's a lot of cool bands that if I were in high school listening to, I would have worshipped them, and now they're my friends, kind of thing. Yeah, I tried it out after a year or two, worked the Guitar Center for 3 years, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like this. So that's why I stayed here. So
nice, because I know there's a lot of people, and it depends on kind of what you want to do in life as well. Where I know a good amount of people that I grew up with here in Milwaukee, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, all of a sudden you turn 18, you graduate high school. It's like, okay, where are you going to go from here? Good number of people went off to college, or a good number of people just stayed in the area and never really left. And again, it's all up to personal decision as well. Myself, I ended up going to Minnesota for 3.5 years for school, but then end up coming back to Milwaukee right afterwards, because after being away for 3.5 years, I'm like, I really wanted to go back. That's just what I wanted to do. However, in your case, it was something where it's, I want to go out west and just see what it's like out there. But going out there, I mean, it seems like you've learned so much about yourself by getting out of your hometown, getting out of that little, like more of a small town bubble, going towards a bigger area, and all of a sudden getting new experiences, meeting new people, and figuring out, especially with music, like, this is where I want to be. This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Iowa to write music, so I still go back out there. I've written for sure my best material out there. Like, that's where I really, because it's serene, it's tranquil, there's nothing out there. Like, we live on a farm, and like I can crank out my 100-watt Marshall to full maximum volume and nobody's gonna hear it out there. It's absolutely amazing. And so I'll record out there. I'll think out there. I've spent a lot of time we can talk about mental health. That's a big thing for the music stuff later, but found a lot of mental, security there. And I just really love Iowa for that aspect. On the flip side, I don't think it's like, the end all say all. I mean, like, I guess the biggest act that came out of Iowa was obviously Slipknot. And, they recorded in Los Angeles and went with, oh God, I don't remember his name, but I think Robinson. Yes, something Robinson. And like, they recorded that debut there, and they were an Iowa band, but yeah, they were mostly like formulated and like became Slipknot in Los Angeles. And I don't want to say that was what pushed me to go to like California, but it's just everything seemed to be in Los Angeles or the Bay Area, and there was a house out here, so I'm like, I'm gonna go, dude. Like, why not just try it out? So.
Yeah, why not try it out? Take the opportunity as it comes to you, because in the end, it seems like, if you would have stayed in Iowa, it seems like, because you're kind of going back and forth a little bit. if you would have stayed there, it's like you may have been able to write some music that is a little bit more that, like saying you write your best stuff there. However, you might not have even written your best stuff out there had you stayed there, because you wouldn't have had the experiences of moving out, moving to Arizona, then moving to California, learning all these new things and figuring stuff out about yourself. And I love what you said about, going back to Iowa to write, because it's peaceful, it's tranquil, and it's just, there's really no distractions outside of yourself. But all of a sudden, you're thinking about something in your mind, you want to write something, all of a sudden you get on a certain thought, and there's nothing that's going to end up coming by. It's like, hey man, you want to go to a show, or hey man, you want to go get something to eat? There's going to be really nothing like that. I mean, you could potentially just sit in a barn all day and just write music, and all of a sudden, if you have a certain thought, you can just build on it and keep going and going and going until all of a sudden you have yourself a massive hit out of nowhere.
Right. And another thing, speaking on that, is just let's just take this week. After I got back from the recording studio, I spent 3 days cleaning. What I would do if I was in Iowa, I would spend 3 days comping the takes that I just did for drums. Instead, it's just like out here where I'm at, it's busy, 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 busy. And sometimes it does mentally wear on you. However, when you are stuck in an area where, like, I turned off my phone and all social media for about around 6 months last year, just because I was really taking a mental break, just because I had a lot of stuff going on to me previous that year. And my God, dude, like, it's when I formulated just, I don't know, like everything about what I needed to do musically. I put this together. And I was like, okay, I need this person to be on the record. I need, these things to happen. What do I do to get to that point? And honestly, if I wouldn't had that, moment in my life where I could just say, okay, take a break from everything, I would definitely not be where I am, even mentally today. Like, I feel like I'm, much better than I was last year, especially. So.
And that's fantastic to hear in the end, because I mean, I went through the exact same thing where it comes to like being in a completely just like mentally anguished state, 3 years ago. And all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden, when something like that happens, and you end up taking time away from like everything else going on in the world, you end up figuring a lot more about yourself. You figure out what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you tick. You end up just really becoming more connected with who you are as a person. And especially where you're coming through, where you're able to express a lot of that through your music, and really kind of like what we were talking about earlier, and creating tangible feelings behind what you're actually feeling. I mean, it seems like it's something that would be insanely therapeutic in the end.
Yeah. It was. I've done a couple little press releases and stuff about it, but the record's a lot about mental health in general. I mean, that's the concept, the underlying concept of the album, the 2 or 3 albums. I can't figure out how I'm going to split it, but it's supposed to be 2. But yeah, when I conceptualized it, I'm like, how am I going to put out, like, I have all these clusters of songs. How am I going to put forth this message I really want to display with a storyline? And like I said, I don't think that I would have been able to do that if I wouldn't have took the time to actually clear your mind and stuff. And just like, and it's just, I don't want to hate on phones too much, because it's great technology and keeps people in contact, especially during these times. However, it is also like a drug, just where like I was so concentrated on like, I have to post to Instagram, I have to do this. And like TikTok came along, like I have to be on TikTok or something, it's just, sometimes it's just good to take a clean break,
Oh, understandable, because there's times where all of a sudden I feel burnt out as well, because it's just with me doing this stuff, it's like, okay, I've got to do this whole, I got to do everything when it comes to it. So everything with the podcast, everything with the YouTube videos, this comes to recording, like writing out what I want to say for the YouTube videos, figuring all that out, doing all the research, shooting everything, editing, uploading, dude, and just putting out there marketing and whatever you can think of it. Then it's all the same thing for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and oh boy, it does just wear on you a lot, especially none of that. But then on top of that, I'm also working a full-time job too. I also work out like an hour and a half every single day just to clear my head away from everything else. And then I want to try and find a time to, still have a social life, hang out with my friends, still stay connected, but not just, virtually over the phone on Zoom or anything like that, like actually get together in person, because that person-to-person connection is much stronger than that person-to-person connection over the phone or over a text. But it has come at the expense of mostly my sleep. It's like if I sleep 6 hours a night anymore, I'm like, holy shit, this was great.
How do you find yourself balancing that? Like, what do you do? I know I have like certain methods, and not coping, but like just things I do that I've changed like habitually to try to make things work. What do you think? What do you find helpful?
For me specifically, and this started all the way back when I was in college too, because when I started out in college, I went to a completely new state. I went to somewhere where what my plan was I wanted to know absolutely nobody. So I wanted to start out as completely blank as possible to try and figure out it on my own. Not only that, but it was something where I wanted to be in a spot where I was far enough away from home to where if I had a problem that it was like, okay, maybe you can fix it yourself. I can't just run home every time. However, if something incredibly major happened, like a death in the family or, something even worse, something, worse or just not as bad, but something that really need my attention happened, I could get home that very same day.
That's awesome.
So what ended up happening was, going through that and all of a sudden, okay, now starting classes and all of a sudden, stress of schoolwork, stress of trying to, deal with not living at home for the first time, being on my own. I mean, I was like, for the first week or so, I was like, I want to become a freaking mental case here just because my mind's just going to run away with me. So what I started doing was I started going to the gym. And what I did was, even though I wanted to go to the gym, work out, get strong, stay healthy kind of thing, I ended up transforming that into my time where my mind can completely shut off. And I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about schoolwork, or now it's like I don't have to worry about anything that's going on with the My Song a Day stuff, anything with the Chord Progression podcast. I don't have to worry about any of that. All I have to worry about is okay, listen to this song. I got to get to this point. I got to run to if I'm outside right now, because with the whole entire COVID-19 thing, I got to get to this bridge by the time this song ends. Let's go. Or it's like when I'm lifting, it's like I'm just focused on getting this bar on my back and squatting 10 times. That's all I'm thinking about. It's just a real kind of thing where it's like I'm able to just take a break mentally every single day just by being in the gym. Not only that, but all of a sudden, sometimes I start thinking about some things with this and I get a great idea out of nowhere. So when it comes to trying to just kind of take a step away from things and kind of make sure that I'm not getting too mentally basically burnt out, taking that break every single day, whether it's, even right in the morning, right after I'm done at my full-time job, or sometime, if I have a podcast right afterwards, all of a sudden just making sure I get that in at some point. Oh man, does it do me well.
Absolutely. It's almost like, it's kind of like the concept behind meditation is what you're doing inside. I'm trying to do meditation. It's really hard to clear my brain a lot of times just because I got diagnosed with stuff. But my God, when you're doing squats and stuff and you're like, okay, I got to get to this part of the song. I try to do that when I work out too. And it really is the same concept of meditation. It's like, okay, I'm going to be thinking about nothing. And then I'm going to let a thought come into my brain, and then it's going to pass, and I'm going to acknowledge the thought. It's that kind of process while you're, working out or sitting, doing mantras at home or some shit,
Oh, easily. And when I was going through all the depression stuff too, it was I'd go to the gym every day after work. And it was just something where, my mind went through hell just from the moment I got up. And all of a sudden I went to the gym, put my earbuds on, get on a treadmill or get on a bike and start going. All of a sudden I knew for the next 2 hours, nothing else was going to matter.
Yep, absolutely.
And if for some reason I was thinking about it, thinking about stuff, and it was make me just kind of get a little bit why am I thinking about this? I can end up using that anger into maybe lifting a little bit more, running a little bit faster, biking a little bit harder, just kind of all tie it in there. Yeah, so it ended up becoming something fantastic.
Yeah, and you're helping your body too. It's one of the best coping mechanisms for depression or anxiety. Is just trying to push your body to its limits, but also helping clear your mind. So that's really cool. You did that.
No, thank you. Because I'll put it this way. It took me a while to get to that point where it's to really fully understand why I constantly wanted to go work out. And all of a sudden it's okay, why do I want to go? Even though it's I basically try and push my body as hard as I can, basically put it through hell just to try and do just to do it. Why am I doing it? And all of a sudden I figured I'm oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. You get that what is that? Not runner's high, but what is that chemical? And is it endorphins?
No, dopamine.
Dopamine, yeah, dopamine release.
Yeah, it's just you're just happy. You're just yay, this is awesome because I did it. I've done that too, where it's I've had like all of a sudden, like I had like a chest cold or something. Now, again, this is before COVID-19 even was a thing.
Right.
It was like, this might have been 2018 or maybe early, late, maybe like middle 20, like mid 2019. But it was like, I had this like terrible, just like chest congestion. And I decided I was going to run 6.5 miles because that's always what I would do. And I was on the treadmill, and all of a sudden, like I got through about 2.5 miles, and I'm just like, I felt, I was just feeling horrible. I'm like, I'm gonna die on this. Like, it's like, this sucks. And I kept going. I told myself, like, just don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. By the time I got done, like I hopped off the treadmill. I was gonna go do box jumps because that was the next part of it. Someone I worked out with all the time, like, saw me there. He's like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, you look like you're about to die. And I'm like, I feel like I'm about to die. He's like, why don't you stop? I'm like, no. Got to keep going. But it was just because like it's just because it was like I got so into the fact that it's just when I do that, my mind just clears and nothing else matters. And like I'm so focused in on one thing. But then in turn, what ends up happening is because I've learned to basically focus my mind through that. I come into here, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I like today, because we're shooting this on a Sunday. And I've got a lot of other things I got to do on Monday. So I'm like, okay, I want to get all the stuff I normally do on a Monday, get done on a Sunday. So it's like sit down, put on a couple of vinyl records. I'm like, okay, let's just start cranking through this stuff. And I mean, it was like, you could have put like, you know, like basically straight up tunnel vision on me. And it was like, I was just locked into like my screen here, my laptop screen, my extra screen right over here. Like there was no real movement outside of this, but I was going nuts.
That's awesome, dude.
So I kind of want to jump into what you're talking about with this. You said you're releasing potentially, you're releasing like 2 albums, potentially even 3 with all the music that you have come out, working out there. And the theme behind it being mental health. So what was the inspiration to go with that theme of mental health behind these albums?
Well, a lot of my personal stuff. So I mean, we got quite a bit of time here, so I'll kind of explain it.
Yeah, feel free to share as much as you want.
Yeah, there we go. This is a good release format because I'm still trying to figure out how to condense this humongous idea I had into, you know, well, obviously the songs, but also the story that goes along with it. But, and just like, you know, the line that crosses fiction and, you know, just the real truth of what I went through and stuff. But, I mean, obviously I've always written like from kind of a, what do they call it? Autobiographical standpoint, where I'm just like talking about myself or things I'm feeling, or, you know, things that I might feel like somebody else is feeling with like empathy. But I never really had like a clear sense of direction. So like the 6th track on the album's like the first song I ever wrote. Yeah, 6th track. And you know, I'd always just talk about random things, but I knew always since day one, I wanted to have it be a concept album. I just didn't know how to tie it together. And so then I wrote that song K. That was like the first release that I like kind of tortured myself to get out there just because I've been sitting on some of these songs for, also mind you, I moved out in 2013 or 14. I've had these songs for like, some of these songs for like 7-8 years. So like, it's been time to get this stuff out. But, I found that like I kept this last year, exactly around this time last year, I was going through maybe like the 10 or 12 songs I had already like cataloged. And I'm like, what is a common theme here? And what do I want to talk? What am I really trying to say? Like some of these might be like me in the moment feeling some sort of anger thing, but that's not really how I feel. So how do I tie that together? And you know, I'm a huge advocate for going to therapy and mental health. It took me a long time to find like a good therapist. And I finally found him in Iowa, and I still talk to him quite a bit, but I'm trying to make it like a more regular thing. But when I was there, I really I've gone to therapy since I was a kid for just some different stuff, like with PTSD and like certain personality disorder stuff. But I just found solace in the fact that like there was somebody to talk to besides just the music, you know, somebody that could actually be there and, you know, help you work through your issues without telling you. Like, I feel like a lot of therapists or other people in my life have like, no, you're this, you're this, you're this. It's like, no, I just want to figure this out and talk through it a little bit. But when I'm going back to the music, when I really found there's a lot of key times. It's usually through dreams and through like sleeping that I found what I really wanted the message to be. And ironically enough, it was about dreams. So there's a lot of huge themes in the album, and the album's about a character called the Dreamer. And basically, how do I explain this? From the first song all the way till the last song on the first album, it's kind of up to the viewer to decide whether he's dreaming or not. It's sometimes explicitly stated, sometimes it's just alluded to, but there's certain key phrases and lyrics and musical motifs that tie things together to make it seem, to let the viewer know, okay, this is based in reality, this is based in delusion. I don't know if you know a little, this is not personally what I have, but I've always been interested in like, how to put this, just like the different clusters of personality disorders, and one of them being DPD, which is basically disassociation. I've had a lot of different friends who have like can't tell really the difference between like they even if reality's happening, they feel like they're in a dream state, and that's always interested me, just because that's been part of, how do I put this slightly? That's been kind of part of my mental state before. It's not exactly what I have, but I've gone through that sort of thing with what I have. So I thought that would be something important to talk about, just because some things, when you have trauma and stuff happen to you, it's important to try to talk through those things and, understand like this did happen to you. You should, this is how to process it and the different coping mechanisms. I'm sorry. I know we're going really deep in here, but
keep going. It's all A-okay with me, because I'm relating to this on so many different levels right now.
Oh man, that's awesome. I mean, that's the whole point of talking about mental health. But yeah, and so when I was going through the lyrics, I'm like, no, this makes so much sense now. And like, for example, the very first song I wrote which is the 6th track on the album, it's called Mistacular. It was just a made-up name that me and a buddy, the guy who lives in Arizona now, Evan, that was just a name I came up with. I'm like, oh, that would be kind of cool. And then I was looking into it in different like grammar stuff, and I almost feel like it's prophetic, and not to have a God complex, but like there's certain things that I'm like, oh, I wrote that, and how interesting it has a completely different meaning 6 to 7 years later. This makes sense. And when I started piecing the album, I also wrote like another 12 songs at that time. And I was like, oh, there's 24 songs. Holy shit, this is insane. Like, what am I going to do? And then I started piecing it together. I drew out lyric maps. I have a 100-page booklet of every lyric. And to each lyric, there's a liner note, at least 5 sentences long, explaining why that sentence makes sense, or if it's a contradiction, or if it relates to another lyric. And like, it was mostly for my liner notes, but I'm trying to water it down and condense it into like a companion thing. I mean, that's very much like Black Parade, American Idiot, like Coheed and Cambria, that concept album thing.
Yeah.
It kind of like got into that. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I could try that since it's a huge complex story, but I want the music to speak for itself as well. So it's just been there's just a lot of ideas that I have to deal with, and just like figuring out the right avenues for it. But getting back kind of again to the lyric thing, I just wanted to talk about all of these issues with the mental health being just, I want people at the end of the albums to feel like it was a cathartic release, and like it goes through a variety of emotions. Because I love pop punk, and that's where I grew up with, but the second album definitely gets a little bit metal territory, but also like there's a lot of ballads and stuff, and trying to make it still my music and cohesive, and not such like a throw off for somebody who likes metal, if that makes any sense. Like, oh my God, this is not like, I just wanted to appeal to different audiences and genre. I don't know.
So it's like you kind of want a genre blend in a way where you don't want to completely stick. You don't want to, because like you're talking about with certain people you talk about with, especially when it comes to mental health, and certain like therapists as well, where they would kind of like try and like put you like, oh, say you're this. So it's like they're trying to kind of put you in a box in a little bit, like who, as I try and make boxes with my hands.
I haven't thought about that like that. That's actually and
they're trying to like categorize you, put you in a box, because that's just the way that like when it comes to humans, it's like they kind of want to put you in a nice little neat box, label you, and kind of put you aside and not have to worry about you. Whereas when it really comes down to it, there's so much more complexity in there. And with what you went through, and it's everything you're trying to describe with mental health, there is so much more there that and kind of sticking to that one style, it doesn't necessarily fit. So you're trying to use your sound and kind of branch out and genre blend, maybe blend with more pop punk, more with like some metal sound, more metalcore, more punk rock, more hard rock, more all rock, whatever it might be, as long as it kind of has this like, basically I always kind of look at it as like the core. So it's like when you look at like a certain, like when you listen to like a band, like, I mean, Slipknot, like Disturbed, like you can just hear a certain like, it's like there's like a little piece of it where it's like, you know, it's exactly them. And I always think of that as like their core. So like I always talk about bands like the core sound. And it's like if you have a core sound and you're like, oh, I want to try this, you know, you're keeping that certain like core that you have in there. But like, you know, now you're trying metal, maybe you're trying something else, but you're kind of genre blending with what you would have as your own personal sound. Man, that can work wonders. And I mean wonders for anybody.
Absolutely. And actually during that time with just going through what I was mentally, I also sat down with a list that said, what makes a necessary noise song? Like, because I have a very good friend of mine named AJ, and he's been huge for me because he played in my band for a little bit, filling in on drums. But his challenge was like, I bet you can't do this. I bet you can't make a song like this. And I'll be like, motherfucker, yes I can. So, but like, I just don't want to make it like this. I want to make it like my own thing. So I sat down with a list of like, okay, what makes a song my song? And I came up with some very specific criteria. And part of the fun part of that is like trying to even break some of those things off and just like, there's still the core of me, like, okay, this is what I do. I know like naturally this is my inclination to do these sort of chord changes or these sort of melodic changes or, you know, intervals. That's me. So like, you know, identifying what you have and then sometimes reverse engineering it, but then also fucking just breaking all the rules and like, no, I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And yet somehow you still come back to that sense of who you are. Like that's where I really found just what you said, the core of, you know, my music. So.
Yeah, and you'll get bands too where it's like when they know the core of their music, they'll really stick to it and just really not really break away as much from it. And I think a good example of that is a band like Breaking Benjamin, where you listen to a lot of their songs and you can exactly tell right when it comes on, it's a Breaking Benjamin song. And like they've experimented with a couple of different things here and there, but they've really stuck to the core of it. And I mean, they're one of the biggest bands in rock music. So it makes sense where that can happen. But then when you get to someone like, and I'm going to use Ronnie Radke as a perfect example with Falling in Reverse, because I listen to Falling in Reverse tracks. And I'm like, there's just a small bit, and it's definitely Ronnie Radke that's like, that's the core of it. But there's so much more around there with genre blending where all of a sudden it's like, I've listened to some songs where it's like, okay, he has, you know, more of a rock feel, more like a pop rock feel or alt rock feel. All of a sudden post hardcore, I'm like, okay, now we're getting into like metalcore. What the hell? All of a sudden, wait, more metal. Okay, rap. What? All right, I'm good with it. It's like it's like, so it's basically kind of like when you find, you know, like for you, what makes a necessary noise song? Like what is at your core sound? Once you understand what that is, you can do so much in moving around. All of a sudden, I can try something more with like a hard rock bass, something with more of a metalcore bass, and more of a pop punk bass, something more of like more of that emo bass. You know, you can go so many different ways. You can experiment so many different ways, and you can hit so many different people. That now I'm not saying like, you know, oh, this one group's gonna like this song, but they're not gonna like anything else. No, they could like a whole group of songs. Then all of a sudden a whole group of people could like a whole different group of songs just based on a little bit of a different sound and influence that you're working with.
Yep, exactly. And like finding that core, you know, I was just, while you're talking about that, like I was thinking, you know, what does make my core, like just other things about it besides just like musical things. And I was like, well, my voice. And then I thought like of a great example. For some reason, AC/DC, even though like Bon Scott died and Brian Johnson took over, you could still hear it's AC/DC. Like there's little changes, but you know from Back in Black to like Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, it's like, oh, that's an AC/DC song. And a lot of that deals with guitar tone or just like the way Malcolm played. And like, you know, it's amazing to identify what exactly makes like the core of like an artist or group. And once you got that, like you said, that brand potential of like how you push that to your audience is essential.
Exactly. And I think AC/DC is a perfect way to describe it, because I know you said you've seen AC/DC live. I have as well. And when it came to like all of a sudden you're hearing Brian Johnson doing those Bon Scott songs and listening to the difference between Bon Scott and Brian Johnson doing Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Yeah, of course, if I'm going to listen to which one would I rather listen to? Bon Scott's version, because that's the original. However, listening to it live and hearing Brian Johnson doing it, it's like, it's it's a mixture between, in my opinion, it's a mixture between how Malcolm plays and how his guitar is tuned with making that ACD sound, and also more of this like dirty gruffness that both Bon Scott's vocals and Brian Johnson's vocals had, and mixing those two aspects, Angus is not Malcolm. Angus is shoot. Why I'm gonna get riled for that. There's my mistake for the day.
No, that's good, dude.
So Angus's guitar work and how his play style is and how he has a tune, mixing in with the dirty and grittiness of the vocal style, whether it's Brian Johnson or Bon Scott, that's what makes the AC/DC sound, and that's what makes that core sound. So that's why when you listen to one or the other, it's like you can't really tell it's like I say you can tell the difference in the sound, but it's still damn good.
Yeah. Still the core, you know what it makes it. I mean, AC/DC is the perfect example of a band that never changed ever. Like I've heard one ballad by them and it was on this it was like a 3-disc box set and it was like buried in there. And I think it was from like the very first vocalist they ever had before Bon Scott. And it's like, this doesn't sound like AC/DC, but every single song since that is sounding exactly like AC, almost like to a fault, but
yeah, it's something where it's AC/DC.
Any of us will ever be, man.
Yeah, it's something where it's AC/DC, and that's that.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
But yeah, I think that's a perfect example when it's like when you're thinking about with necessary noise, like, okay, what makes your core sound and how can you basically it's like how can you tweak it on certain things when it comes to, especially with AC/DC, the perfect example. They figured out they know exactly what it is. And I mean, you hear an AC/DC song and it's instantaneous. It's AC/DC.
Yeah,
that's the same thing kind of like I feel with Breaking Benjamin as well. Like all of a sudden I hear it come on, I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's Breaking Benjamin. It has more of that like alt metal melodramatic tone to it. It's like, oh yeah, this is them.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, when I was spying in on you, was that Zoom call you had with your friends?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. Like it kind of relates to that just because like, you guys were playing that game where it was that like you listen to like 10, 15 seconds of a song, you identify it, right?
Yeah. So what it was there were originally 5 of us in. This is on Friday. This was right after our listening party for the new Asking Alexandria album. So there were a couple of us that were still in there. And we decided to do this thing where we were gonna give each other a band so it was like, I would give a band to someone that was played the music, but they picked 5 songs from a band that I would choose for myself. So for me, my first one was Rise Against, and they would play 5 seconds of a song. I get 5 songs, they play 5 seconds, and I have to guess the song each time. And we had, out of the 4 of us that played 4 rounds, we had one person that got 8 out of 20 total. Then me and this one other guy, we got 19 out of 20. And then the person that kind of came up with the game, she got 20 out of 20.
Yeah, she got all of them. I was watching. I was like, man, she knows her shit, dude.
Yeah, because her bands were Beartooth, Attack, A Day to Remember, and Motionless in White.
Yeah, and I felt like, because I know some of their songs, I just felt lost. I'm like, wow. But it was... I'm always thinking about different things, but what I was thinking about at that time was how interesting, what is their core sound to appeal to their fan base? I'm always like wondering, how do I make sure that like, what order do I release stuff in? How do I make an audience kind of, and like listening to those different songs, I'm picking out, guitar tones, drum patterns, bass stuff, even in 15 seconds, like, okay, this is what, makes this artist their core once again. So yeah, it's something I think about honestly pretty much every day, just being an artist. But
yeah, and when you're picking that stuff and figuring out how you want to release it to the audience, you're not doing this to say, oh, what's going to please the audience and what's going to try and mold it around. What you're trying to do is with the sound that I have and with what I'm trying to put out there, how can I put it out in the best way possible to reach the most amount of people as efficiently as possible? So I'm saying is like not, reach the most amount of people overall or impact the most amount of people overall. It's how you can mix both of them together and make it as efficient as possible, where you're expanding your reach to a much larger audience, but you're also making a huge impact with your sound on that audience as well.
Right. Exactly. Can you imagine trying to play that game with AC/DC, dude? I would die. If anybody could. Oh my God. If anybody could like sit down and be like, okay, I mean, other than the hits, like be like, okay, this rarity AC/DC song off of like Fly on the Wall or something. I'd be like, how do you know that? They sound the same, dude.
Yeah, because like with me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go Rise Against first because I pretty much, if you're gonna play Rise Against, I'm gonna know the song right away. That's just me. The second one I went with was Ice Nine Kills because I'm like, unless I get something off of their second album, I'm gonna be screwed. Like if I get something off that album, I'm gonna be screwed. But I got like one off of the Silver Stream, I got two off of Every Trick in the Book, and two off of Predator versus the Prey. I'm like, or Predator Becomes a Prey. I'm like, oh my god, I got this. Hollywood Undead, I went with third. I wanted to go with Disturbed third, but there's a good amount of songs with Disturbed. I'm like, I just don't remember the names at all. So, but I know the sound. I just don't remember the name. I'm like, shit, I just am going to go Hollywood. I got 4 out of 5 because the first one that was played, I had no idea. I'm like, who do I go with fourth? I'm like, okay, I'm going to go 30 Seconds to Mars because I know their stuff. But I'm like, I'm going to get into something like their last 2 albums. They're going to play stuff. I'm just going to be like, I'm not sure what's going on there. And I got 4 songs out of the 5 that were played on the last 2 albums, and I got them all still. I'm like, okay, I still got this, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking like, man, what bands would I do if I just joined in right now? And I was going to like, cause I know my core, like what I want to do, but dude, I was thinking maybe I know System of a Down because that's like stuff I have memorized from when I was a kid. Because the stuff from when I was a kid is like so strong in my brain. But then I remembered I can't remember System of a Down, like because I listened to like especially back then I listened to records. I didn't like do singles. I was only listening to the record all the way through on my iPod. That I was always getting taken away. But yeah, I would always, bringing that call back. But I would only listen to Toxicity all the way through and listen to like Steal This Album all the way through. So I have none of their songs except like Chop Suey and Toxicity and like maybe like, I don't know, Forest or something. I just know them as, that song comes before this song and after this song. And that's getting back to my stuff. That's why it's really essential for me, like, can't think of the word right now, not synchronicity, but like I can't figure the word out. It's when you like line up the tracks, not just track lists, but like sequencing. There we go, sequencing. Like
I like synchronicity better, but
an album was essential to me because I always think from a consumer point. I know everybody says we're in a singles world. I know we're in a streaming world. However, some of the hipsters and some people like me want to listen to the album all the way through. So how do I basically have my cake and eat it too? So I love sequencing just because of that reason.
Yeah, and I mean when it comes down to, especially like you said, we're definitely living in a world where it's more streaming, more single based, and there are more bands that are moving to that, which again, it makes sense. They're kind of going with what is basically what's becoming popular, where the attention is. And I do understand where you're coming from too, where it's when you're creating an album, you're telling a whole entire story. So when it comes to streaming, when it comes to releasing the singles as well, it's going to be a lot harder to tell a story in a whole album sense. And so it's like, okay, I want to tell a story, but I have to put it out in one song in a single, or kind of try and do something like what Falling in Reverse into like a trilogy single thing with Losing My Life, Losing My Mind, and Drugs. And I keep bringing up Falling in Reverse for this shit, but it's just kind of like some of the stuff that just makes sense to bring them up in. Like, I mean, I'll bring up them a lot of times. I'll bring up Ice Nine Kills a lot of the time as well. But even use Ice Nine Kills as a perfect example. They would not have been able to do the Silver Scream album had they put out like a bunch of singles for it, because when you're basing an album off of all these horror movies, you got to put them together in one album. You can't do it as singles. It just doesn't make sense. So it's like when you're coming with something, you want to do the concept album to really talk about mental health, really kind of explain what you went through. It's also therapeutic for yourself to really put it out there tangibly and give that tangible feeling of sound to it. So many other people are going to be able to connect with that as well, and also get that tangible feeling and also describe it more with your sound.
Exactly. And just with the sequencing and stuff, thinking about it, it's like it's hard because you can't please everyone. That's another mental health thing. Is that I was thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? So like, what we were saying before, I'm not really pleasing the audience, because that was initially my first attempt. Was like, okay, I'm going to put out the fan favorites, I'm going to appease my audience, whatever. And then I thought, well, what songs do I want out? What songs makes me? What songs am I really proud of that I want to show the world first, or in what order? And at the end of the day, I am the artist, and no matter how many people I have, that I get with managers or booking agents or whatever, I'm still the person in charge, and I still can, obviously I want my audience to be happy, but I want to do things in a way that's going to help people understand what I'm trying to convey. And if I can't do that in, like if somebody doesn't want to buy just the album and they just want to do singles, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to do it, in such a sequential manner that helps benefit my story and the core and whatever. But yeah, like it'll be interesting because I think I have a game plan like of how I'm going to release the singles, and like I'm happy with them. I'm always changing things to the song, like mix wise. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm pretty bad with perfectionism, but yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely an album listener, but I'm still trying to put things out as singles. That's like going back and forth between those two.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to put in there as well is because you're talking about how first you're like figuring out, okay, I just want to like kind of like please the audience and just make sure that I have my audience happy. But then it's like, okay, but I really just want to put this stuff out for myself as well. And when you're looking between those two to try and figure out what you want to put out as something more audience pleasing, more something more for yourself, I definitely have to say go for something that's more yourself. And I think the perfect band to really put this example out for is a band like Sleeping with Sirens, because with their 2017 release in Gossip, it was something where they were working with many more producers. They were putting a lot more pop tendencies in there because that's what the producers wanted. That's what basically pop culture wanted from them to basically, make them bigger. They put out that album, and I mean, I know it sold well because they had a lot more pop tendencies in there, but they absolutely hated it because they didn't feel like it was their own. It didn't feel like a Sleeping with Sirens album as, Madness did, or God, I can't remember second Let's Cheers to This, like didn't feel like that. All of a sudden last year they came out with How It Feels to Be Lost, and they went back to what they wanted to do. Now commercially, did it have as much success as Gossip? I don't think it did, but did it go over so much more with the fans than Gossip did? Oh, hell yeah, it did. And it was so much more relatable too, because it didn't seem like it was more like fluff or filler. Like it was everything that was in there. I mean, Kellen Quinn was literally detailing his life story between the time Gossip was written and released to when they got back together and started writing this one.
Exactly. Writing to yourself is very important, like no matter how many, I'm actually in this group of people and they're mostly pop artist mentality. And I've never really been like that just because of kind of like one of the core things of like Necessary Noise is that I'm going to do everything against like what is popular, but yet kind of make it popular in a weird way. Like if they're doing 3 chords, I'm going to make them the hardest 3 chords in different variations possible. Like it's just that against that grain mentality I've always had as a kid, just like a little brat. But anyways, like just a lot of people will write to appease an audience, and that really does, no offense, but it pisses me off. It's just like, well, you don't, because then your audience who cares? Your audience is going to not like it. If you write to yourself and you write what's in your heart and you don't try to write to an audience ever, you'll write the best stuff. Like I truly, sincerely believe that. So.
More easily. And I mean, I'll bring up another example with punk rock. I got to bring up Rise Against for this, where a lot of their stuff is all political based, of course, because, punk rock, political based, and everything like, and it's whatever they believe in. Now, myself, do my beliefs line up exactly 100% as theirs do? No. Do I still want to listen at what they have to put out there? Absolutely, because it's something that it's raw. I love the sound and I love what they're putting out there. It's like they're putting their heart and soul into it because that's what they believe in. And I'd rather hear that than someone trying to pander to me with something. It's just when as a person that, doesn't really make music, but actually doesn't make music, all just listens to it and really likes to talk about it. When I'm hearing something that I can definitely feel the emotion behind it and definitely feel how real it is. And I'll use again, Sleep with Sirens, How It Feels to Be Lost, where I could just tell Kellen Quinn was literally writing everything from his perspective of what happened between kind of getting depressed, his marriage being on the rocks due to his actions after Gossip, and just kind of how he kind of let his life get away from him, and how he decided to, I have to turn around, for my wife, for my daughter, for myself, and just really getting the emotion behind it. And then the music that he wanted to put out there behind it. Oh my God, it's so much better. And it's just so much, as an audience member, I'm able to even connect to it so much more because I'm able to make parallels within my own life instead of what I want to hear. It's no, give me what you want to give me. And if I like it, I mean, I'm going to be able to make those connections, and they're going to be much more personal connections because I'm hearing what you went through. I'm like, holy shit, maybe I didn't go through the exact same thing, but I can make a connection to that feeling that you're trying to put out there.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%, dude. Like it's really important to be true to yourself, and other people will identify with it.
Oh, easily. I mean, when it comes to the bands we listen to too, it's like when they put out stuff that's like when it feels like it's much more personal to them. Oh man, we just get so much more connected with it.
Yep.
Because even some albums where it's like, oh, maybe they didn't go a little bit, as much with that, personalness to it, maybe a little bit more abstract with it, a little bit more kind of what's popular. I'm like, that wasn't your best outing. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, we're going back to the old style where it's like we just kind of put whatever we want in there, and you're gonna have to deal with it. I'm like, yay!
Yeah, I know. That's where some of the best work comes out.
Yeah, but where I was going to go with, we're next with what you were talking about with your friends in that group of the more pop mentality, kind of what's popular today. It's always good to kind of see the other side as well, even if you're against that, just because there's a couple of things there. One, it's you can kind of see what they're doing. It's like, okay, you can tell you definitely don't want to do that. So it's like, okay, like you're saying, if they're going to go with something that's 3 chords, like I'm going to go with something that's the hardest 3 chords, the most complicated 3 chord song you could imagine. Just kind of blend it. But also, and this is the same thing when it comes to bands I've talked to that have had multiple different members, where it's like everyone has a completely different influence from what they grew up in, where all of a sudden you're taking in more of the songwriting process as a whole from people from other genres. So all of a sudden you might see something in there where all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to try and write something with this kind of like maybe a style or maybe this little piece that works in this genre that all of a sudden it doesn't seem like it would work in my mind. But if I tweak it this way and put it in here, it might work out perfectly. But you never would have thought of that had you not been integrated with other artists and other genres and talked about music that way.
Exactly. It also, like, thinking about that just from a one-person band scenario, it's been a while since I've been able to like do things with other people, and it's a lot by choice. It's not like, oh, I don't like talking to people, but it's just like doing that all in one brain with like, okay, I'm going to take influences from this part of my brain. Okay, the bass is going to be influenced by this. Like, it's always interesting. But back when I was in a band with multiple people when I was a child, like, it was really interesting to hear how all of our influences combined to make the music. And honestly, I look back at some of those songs and the recordings are cringy as fuck, but they were pretty cool songs, just like hearing all the different spots. Like, there's a lot we'd change, but like we always like joke around since we're also pretty good with each other. We're like all in different bands. We're like, yeah, man, Karate Link Kids, have a reunion tour. Like, that was the name of our band. Just the stupidest thing.
Yeah, but then when you look back at those, like you're saying, like it's you like, oh, I'm cringing at this, cringing at that, but there are a couple pieces that are like, oh, that's cool. You're able to take those pieces and figure out, maybe we can try and put this in here now and just see how that works. Maybe we can try and put this in here because it was cool. Maybe it just wasn't used the right way. And next thing you know, boom, you might have something fantastic on your hands. You never know if you try.
So funny enough, kind of tying into the concept of my album, I had this riff written that was back. I had 3 real bands. It was Pride Lincoln's, King of All Cosmos, and then whatever turned into Necessary Noise. And King of All Cosmos, I had this riff floating around. It was a really pretty guitar riff, and I finally used it in a song just because, like, inside the concept album, there are the number 8's really significant. So there's 8 parts of this Dreamer series. So on Dreamer 2 and 4, I use riffs from that original thing. So yeah, I'm piecing stuff from old art, like, I don't know, pieces, I guess, is just like, it's always fun. Just to, like, I'll always go revisit that stuff, because back then, like, I really liked Rush and like prog bands like Coheed and Cambria too, where they're writing 10-minute songs, and I was like, okay, let's write a 10-minute song, guys, and we would have is 4 or 5 songs with 10 minutes. So I'm like, and now I can't. I mean, I still do that kind of stuff in a different way, but like they're mostly 3-minute, 4-minute songs because that's what people like. But
that's what people like, unless they're Tool fans, or getting 10-minute songs to the norm.
Have you seen Tool live recently?
No, I could have gone to see them live because they were going to be in Milwaukee on Halloween in 2019, cool. But the tickets for the price for the tickets for the absolute cheapest, which was, way up atop, nosebleed seats, you name it. It was like $350.
Okay, I saw them around that time, around Halloween in the Wells Fargo Arena in Iowa, because I was still back there from March until October, I guess. And I saw them, and I always get lucky for tickets, but I was like near the front at like $50. Like it was insane. Yeah. I mean, I went to Billie Eilish. Well, that was different, but like I've been to different shows for damn near cheap, like $50. I never spend over $100 unless it's like, I don't know, like System of a Down or My Chem or something. Like,
yeah, because I think like if I
so pricey, dude.
yeah, because I was gonna say like if I think about it, like if I would have like all the concerts I saw in October and November of last year, if I put them together in terms of price, it would have been the same as just going to that Tool show. Because like I'm trying to think who I saw. I saw Gwar, but I got that ticket for free.
Sick.
And I didn't really
after the dude died.
After. So I saw him. I'm like, I knew who Gwar was. I didn't really say any of their music, and all of a sudden, like I'm there. I'm like, okay, let's see how this is. I left just covered, drenched in like all this like red colored water, green colored water. It was so much fun. But then I got to like, so these are all the shows I saw during this time. It was saw Gwar. And then the last Disturbed show of the year that year was in Milwaukee. Wow. It was them in This Moment. And I was right on the rail for it up front because I became friends with someone who's just a gigantic fan of the band. Wow. And they always did this thing that was like their fighter of the month. So it's just ever since they came out the Evolution album, they always do this thing where they kind of like, if someone who's gone through a lot in their life and pushed through it and is like just embodies that like fighting spirit. She was their pick for September, and it was a whole plan that it was going to be. Yeah. It was like a whole plan. I'm like, okay, so I got to see a show with her in March, and I got to see one with her in October. I'm like, this is awesome. Then there was after being Emotionless and White, where I cut my eye, which was fun. Then there was the Beartooth I Prevail, A Day to Remember in Minneapolis. Light the Torch, Fit for a King, and Ice Nine Kills. And then Norma Jean and Devil Wears Prada.
That's awesome. That's all during how long of a span?
This was a month and a half span. And then if I could have added onto it at the end of like an extra half a month had this tour gone through, because it was the Falling in Reverse tour. They're going to go with Crown the Empire, and I was going to see him at the end of November, but that was when Derek Jones's wife was battling cancer, so they had to cancel it, which made sense. Yeah, but then I still got to see him right before the pandemic hit, because it was like Falling in Reverse, Escape the Fate, and The Word Alive. It was like, now this is a fucking lineup. Yeah,
that's awesome. What a lineup. That's cool.
Yeah, I almost broke my nose during Falling in Reverse, though. Came real close, but
dang, dude,
it's still attached.
With it.
I just took a flying elbow to the face right at the beginning of the breakdown for Popular Monster, or the bridge. I'm like, fuck this. And all of a sudden, like, because I just want to do the Wall of Death, and I figured out my nose wasn't broken. I got to lead one side of the Wall of Death. And I'm like, let's go,
dude. I have this song in the set list. Actually, I sent you that one song during a part where I have everybody do the Wall of Death, or if there's only a few people, I have them just jump or something. Wall of Death is one of my favorite things in the world. Doing it in a pop punk culture too is just really funny to see. Yeah, I love Wall of Death so much.
Hey, at Riot Fest last year, they did the Wall of Death during the Village People doing the YMCA.
It's so freaking awesome.
It was. I was mad because it was during because I only had 1 day ticket for Riot Fest last year, and it was because Village People played on a Sunday. I was there on the Saturday, and so like I wasn't able to be a part of that. But I saw it. I'm like, because I knew because people were talking about it the day beforehand. I'm like, people had signs like YMCA Wall of Death. I'm like, I was asking people around like, what the hell is this about? They're like, oh, Village People are playing tomorrow, so we're trying to get as many people to show up at that show and do the Wall of Death during the YMCA. I'm like, I looked at one guy, I'm like, God damn it, I wish I had bought a Sunday ticket.
That's so freaking awesome, dude. I'll definitely check out a video of that, because that's something I want to see.
I know there's a video of it.
Do it. Like, da, 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 da. It's
fun to stay at the... Yeah, it happened like that. It was freaking hilarious.
Awesome. I'm a fan. What band was doing that again?
The Village People.
No, I meant like what... It was at Riot Fest. Wait, the Village people were at Riot Fest?
The Village people were at Riot Fest last year on the Sunday. Yeah.
I thought it was like a pre-crowd song. Like this was an oh,
No,
dude, that is awesome.
There.
That
they
is
were
so
actually
cool.
there.
I definitely would have seen. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look that up. I didn't know people were still around.
Because I remember I saw it in line the day after because I was on Loudwire and Loudwire posted the video of it that someone had. I'm like, oh
so
my
awesome.
God.
Dude, I would never think the Village people would be on the Riot Fest though. That's awesome.
Dude, you'd be surprised because there's been because just kind of add to it, there's been here in Milwaukee because we have our AHL hockey team, the Milwaukee Admirals.
Yep.
And so after a couple of times a year, like 5-6 times a year after their home games, they'll actually have a band come on and like perform a live show. Cool. Which is kind of cool. And this year, before everything happened, my buddy asked me because he works for him and I've known him since I was 5. His whole family works there. He's like, yeah, is there any shows you potentially want to go and see? I'm like, let me see if we got anybody on there. I told him one time, like, dude, can you tell your dad, get someone good on here? All of a sudden I look, he's like, yeah, you want to, we got Skillet on for January. Do you want to go see Skillet? I'm like, dude.
Yeah. Dude, that's cool.
So I got to go see them, and it was like basically what happened was like on the ice they laid down like carpets just so people don't slip,
right? And
they only let a certain amount of people out on the ice. Well, the demand to get people on the ice was so large that they just started writing it down on paper, like, you know, basically taking like your money. It's like, okay, you can go on the ice. Like they filled up almost the whole rink with people.
Awesome.
And it's just like, and I asked my buddy's dad, I'm like, have you seen crazier than this? He's like, I've seen crazier than this for 2 other bands. I'm like, well, what 2 other bands? He was like, one was the Village people, surprisingly, because so many people wanted to go see them. But this is back when they were popular. I'm like, okay. I'm like, who was the other one? He's like, it was an Irish punk rock band. I'm like, you got the Dropkick Murphys to play after a hockey game. He's like,
Irish punk band.
Yeah, he was like, he's like, I was nervous for that one before I saw people start moshing on the ice. I was like, I was freaking. I'm like, why didn't I know about this? I asked him. I'm like, so they've only ever played here that one time, right? He's like, no, we've invited them back twice since then. I'm like, no freaking way.
Dude, next time they're playing, like, I'll sign my ass up. I'll get over to the
next time they're
rink.
playing after the Admirals hockey game, I'm like, I'm gonna be there because just saying that you were able to mosh on the ice.
I know. That's a pretty cool experience.
Oh God, I'm like, God damn it, why didn't I know about it? But then of course, the first time that it happened, me and my friend, like we really didn't talk all that much, so I had no idea about it. The other 2 times I was in Minnesota, so I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, but it's like just crazy stuff like that that's like just sticks out in your mind like a sore thumb. It's like, how the hell does this stuff happen?
True. And I just want shows to, I mean, kind of going back to that point, it's just every time I hear about a cool show, I'm like, can't wait until shows come back. It'll be a good time, man. Like,
it'll be an insane time but it's not just when shows come back, it's when they come back to the way that we want them to come back. When it's, we can crowd surf, we can mosh pit, we can crowd surf the crowd surfer during Better Off This Way by A Day to Remember. We can do all that stuff. Or trying to think of some of the other crazy ones. The large circle pit around the sound booth. That was also A Day to Remember. So I was just like, okay, this is kind of getting crazy. But it's just like I just miss that because it's just there's so much raw emotion in there where it's just like we were talking about earlier. Like I know for me in the mosh pit, it's just as much as I love hit, like, you know, like all of a sudden you're getting in there. I love delivering the hits, but there are times where all of a sudden like I'll get knocked clean on my ass, and it's just like. I don't know why, but I still feel alive because this happened when I went to go see the Falling in Reverse show because I got in the pit during the Word Alive because they were the first band on. 30 seconds in, 30 seconds in, guys like 275 pounds just decks me and levels me. And I fall flat on my back and all of a sudden like the wind got knocked out of me and you're hearing me just like...
at a show where there's no air anyway, you know, you can't breathe clean air.
Yeah, and all of a sudden the guy's like, dude, you need help. He's like, he's like giving me his hand, like help me up. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, I've got like 3 people's arms under my arms, like picking me up. I'm like, yay.
The difference between 275-pound sweaty people and Billie Eilish's, no offense, fangirls and 12-year-old girls. 12-year-old girls don't want you to fucking get back up. They're stay down there, bitch. Like, they don't give a fuck, dude. Yeah, they're like, that's right, you fucking die. Like, they don't care, dude. I'm telling you, man, I will go to a metal show, or I would have gone to a metal show any other day and not go to like Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift, a concert where 12-year-old girls are fangirling and screaming. They're ruthless, man. They don't give 2 fucks. They don't go a single fuck in the world.
No, I've talked to people too that have gone to those shows, because I've known people that went to go see, I think it was Shawn Mendes here in Milwaukee, and they're like, it was people I worked with, the same people I mentioned earlier that went to the country show where people were just kind of just doing whatever the heck they wanted in the middle of the crowd. But they were like, they went to this Shawn Mendes show and they were in a luxury box because the company I worked for had tickets there. And they're like, we left halfway through this because we couldn't deal with just the high pitched screaming. And I looked at them like, I was like, half your lifetime ago, that would have easily been you, because these girls were like 25, 26 years old. I'm like, that would have been you guys.
Yep.
And they're like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I looked at them like, really? It wasn't? They're like, no, it wasn't. I was trying to think of like some artists like to bring up. I remember one. I'm like, so when Justin Bieber first came out, you wouldn't have done that. They're like, oh my God, I went and did that during. I'm like, I told you.
So if the Backstreet Boys come out to the reunion tour when they did that thing, you weren't screaming, dropping panties. That wasn't you at all.
Well, the one that's happening right now, or was happening before the pandemic hit, was the Jonas Brothers.
Yep.
They all went to that one too. I know a bunch of people that went to that one. That's like, and there's me. I'm just like, I think that might have been the same night that Gwar played here in Milwaukee, at the concert venue I love going to. So I'm like, and it's just like, well, you guys are gonna go see the Jonas Brothers. I'm gonna go just get. I don't know what the hell's happening to me here at the war, but I'm going to go there.
Red food coloring just on my entire body from Gwar.
The best during that show was, and this is something I'll never forget because this was hilarious. So the band that was on before Gwar, they were constantly having circle pits, mosh pits going. And there was a guy there. He had his kid. Kid had to be about 11 years old. And this kid was just loving every minute of it. Like if they were in the circle pit, like the dad was holding this kid's hand, just like running around with them. And all of a sudden, like if the kid got knocked down, like there is at least 20 people like throwing this kid back up. Like, so everyone's having a good time. All of a sudden, I get moved over to a different side of the stage because I found out that someone I knew was over there. So I wanted to go say hi to them. And the show started, but they were right up front. So I'm like, I'm going to sit here because it sounds like fun. All of a sudden, like where the pit's going, I'm looking over there. And all of a sudden I see this kid, 11 years old. And I got to say, this kid had the most epic mullet I have ever seen in my entire life. Like it went down like almost to like his waistline. Like that's how far down the back of his hair went. I'm like, what the heck is this kid doing? He was on his dad's shoulders as Gwar spraying red and green water for it. They see this kid. They're still playing, but they immediately stop spraying everybody. And they all converge to the middle of the stage. They point everything at this kid and they just blast him for a straight minute.
Wow. That's awesome.
And when they started, I mean, the crowd just went from like, everyone kind of got quiet when they stopped just to kind of see what was going on. When they started blasting, the roar of the crowd was just absolutely insane. And I'm thinking, this kid's going to go to school tomorrow, tell his friends what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, there might be hip hop fans or just pop fans or whatever fans. They're going to think that this is the coolest thing possible because who the hell else has a story like that?
I know. That's awesome. Wish I was that 11-year-old kid at Gwar concert.
I mean, I was at that Gwar concert, but I wish I was on someone's shoulders getting that happen because I didn't know that I didn't know they did that at first, and so all of a sudden like I was getting sprayed and like I got a bunch of water on my phone. I'm like, this sucks, and I was wearing one of my favorite hats too. I'm like, I just don't want all the dye on there. But after about 3 songs, I realized that there was no way I was getting away from it because I was already pretty drenched. I said screw it, and I was just like,
yeah, spray me.
As bad as that sounds.
Exactly. Like, spray me though. Yeah. No, it's terrible.
I mean, when you've played live and you've played on stage, have you ever had some of those like absolutely crazy stories? I mean, I don't think you've sprayed an 11-year-old kid with a bunch of red food colored water for a minute because that's what you do. But you have any stories like that where it's like some live stories that just stick out in your mind when you were on stage?
Usually I do. I just can't think of any right now. I mean, like, I always just love doing, like I said, the wall of death thing, like getting everybody. Like, I'm usually involved with the shenanigans, though, like jumping off stage, jumping on stage. Shit usually happens on stage to us as, like, whenever I have me and my live guys. Can't really remember anything right now, though, if it takes my mind. Like, there's always those little, like, crazy-ass stories.
Well, if you've had some stories where, like, if stuff happened to you guys while you were on stage, like, there's gotta be something.
It's nothing like great though. It's just usually like technical malfunctions, or I have to do that. Oh shit! I just remembered one that happened to me. Okay.
Yes.
So this was our big show. Like, there's a venue, rest in peace. It was called Slim's, and all of my heroes play there. I mean, anyone from My Chem play there, Avenged Sevenfold play there, Metallica play there, AC/DC play there, Paramore play there. Like, everybody had like played there during their like, I don't know,
at some point during their
seminal
career
album thing. What'd you say?
They played there at some point during their career.
Yeah, at some point during their career, like even like during the midst of like their good career. I love Slim's. It's an awesome place to play. Anyways, there's a song called "The Burial," which is on my second record, and there's this thing that I started incorporating live, where I go into this really high-chested, like yellish, like it's still like a pitched note though. So like I'm still trying to do it in chest and not in falsetto, and like trying not to go my head voice. And it's every single time I do it during rehearsal, I kind of like wimp out on it. I'm like, oh, just mix a little head voice in there, not a big deal. But when I do it live, I always lose oxygen and I start like passing out. And I was in front of like, I don't know, like 200 something people and at Slim's. And all of a sudden I'm doing this and I hold it for like, I don't know, 8 bars or something. And all of a sudden the next thing I remember was like the song had ended, the music had stopped, and I was just like crashed over onto a bass drum and I passed out. It was the very first time I passed out like live on stage. Everybody was like, whoa, what's going on? And then I said something into the mic. Like, I still have the recording of it, but I said something like, yeah, sorry guys. And I was still trying to regain consciousness, but everything was black and fuzzy. And I felt like I was in a dream once again. And I was like, oh, no, this is just a bad dream. It's just a bad dream. I didn't actually collapse on stage. And then I wake up, I'm like, oh shit, everybody's gone silent. Like the clapping had ceased, but like I rewatched the recording a couple times. It was only like a second of dead silence. I was like, one, sorry guys. And I was like, wow, but it felt like at least an eternity. Like, it was crazy. I was like the most embarrassed. I had to carry through the set. And man, oh man, dude, that was just, everybody was like, what is going on? Are you okay? And I was just listening back to, because we had a good stereo mix from the audio engineer who was running the show. And I listened back to the CD and my guitar just goes, you hear it crash, $2,500 guitar just crash to the ground. I still have scrapes from that when I crashed into his bass drum. The kick was like, we only had 2 or 3 songs left in the night, but the kick sound was off because I nudged the kick mic away and like they couldn't get it replaced because like they didn't want to send the crew up. And yeah, that's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, but now you can say, when you get back to playing live show, it's like, live show's so good, you'll pass out. We do too.
Man. I feel like I've had a couple other instances like that, just mostly with technical difficulties, but that one topped the list for me, is when I passed out, didn't even know it, kind of thing.
I mean, that's the first pass out one I've ever heard. I mean, I've heard some stories beforehand where people have been up on stage and like people just come up and like punch them in the face.
That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, don't have that happen to you, man.
Metal shit right there. I feel like I've seen so many of those shows, like where like I remember the ones like Slash gets tackled and stuff, or like, yeah, like the Tool show. Oh yeah, when Maynard freaking like wrestled the guy to the ground. Like, they had some pretty crazy antics back then. But
or there was another one where it's like, I mean, or like people throwing stuff up on stage. Cause I'm trying to think of like some of even like some other crazy ones too, where it's like stuff just happened where people have thrown stuff up on stage. I've seen some wacky ones though. And oh my God, we've got another dog.
We're starting off with the dog again. Oh, buddy. Yeah, we got 3 dogs. Sorry, continue your story why it involved the dogs.
Okay, well, because one of them I remember this is at Summerfest in Milwaukee, so just outdoor venue. And this is back, early 2010s when, I mean, if I go back and look up the lineup right now, I'm like, God damn, I was like going to more shows because they had this one stage that was always fantastic. And I'm kind of distracted right now because there are 3 dogs on camera. I can't help it. There are 3 dogs on camera here, ladies and gentlemen.
If you're watching this, we usually put it on YouTube, but then the people at home can't see it if they're on like Stitcher or Apple Music or anything, can they?
Yeah, if they're on Spotify, Apple Music, they're not able to see it. But that means you got to go over to YouTube because right at this moment, there
give them
are
YouTube plays because they're
doggos.
Freaking adorable. Hot puppies. Go ahead and finish the story, and then we talk about the dogs.
Okay, so it was so Summerfest. It was I mean, there's so many different bands I've seen there that have been fun, but the craziest one was, and this kind of got us started with, I think, if they came up the lineup this year, but I think it's getting postponed till next year. But I think they're kind of done with metal shows now after what we did last year during August Burns Red.
Oh, really?
We, so every stage they had these metal benches laid down everywhere because it's all outdoors. Mm-hmm. And, when people are seeing shows, like when the headliner goes on, everyone's standing on top of these benches, but you really can't do anything or move anywhere. So all of a sudden I went to go see August Burns Red and Silverstein was on before him. I ended up front row. And all of a sudden, here comes August Burns Red. And between the barrier and the first bench, there's like 2 feet of space, maybe. And people are trying to mosh in this 2 feet of space. And and the only reason I'm still on top of the bench because there's so many people behind me that I'm just trying to make sure no one gets really flung off the bench. I think I got flung over that bench multiple times, just getting knocked over. I almost tore my ACL like 6 or 7 times. Oh, so every one of us we were kind of getting pissed at this because all of a sudden we're like, God damn, we need more room. We look, and the stage was divided into 2 sides of this, basically like where the people were, because where the sound booth was and where some security was standing were like right down the middle. There was a little alleyway they built for them. And all of a sudden we looked to the other side and we started seeing benches tip up. We're like, what the hell's going on here? And we realized everyone over on the other side wants to do the same thing we are trying to do, but they're tipping up the benches so they have more room.
Oh my goodness.
And there's like only 6 security personnel around the front of the stage. No one's trying to get on stage though, because no one wants to get on stage during August Burns Red and take a punch to the face from Jake Lurs, because I don't want to do that.
No.
All of a sudden we're like, fuck this, let's do the same thing. So we start trying to pick the benches up and we're going to make more room for us to mosh. It was going to be fantastic. Exactly. Out of nowhere, like 40 different event security staff just bum rush both sides, and they're not trying to kick any of us out. They just want to get the benches put down because they're like, well, it's a safety issue. And we're like, no, it's a safety issue. If we put them down, just hold them up for us. And they kind of cleared out the area, put them back down. We were kind of pissed about it. And then even Jake Lurs was like, guys, I love the energy, but they're telling me you have to leave the benches down. So, just want to tell you guys, I love the energy. At the end of the show, though, because it was kind of cool because they went off on one side and they all went off on the side that I was, and Jake Lurs was just giving everyone a handshake, just kind of hanging, saying thanks for coming out, thanks for coming out, thanks for coming out. I got to talk to him for maybe 15 seconds only. He kind of stopped by me for the longest. I'm like, yeah, I feel special. Yeah, but ever since us tipping up the benches, we're trying let's just tip up the benches next time, for a metal show. It's gonna be worth it. Yeah, I don't think they're bringing back metal acts anymore.
Dang, man. What festival was that at?
Summerfest. It's in Milwaukee.
Okay, gotcha.
They're doing a lot more.
I missed all the Midwest festivals, man. They're cool.
Yeah, I love them, but it's this year I'm like, are they going to all come out? I know Summerfest won't happen, but I don't really care that much for Summerfest anymore because they never have really any of the bands I want to listen to anymore. It's a lot more pop rock, pop rock, hip hop, and country oriented now, just because that's what people are listening to. And then Rock USA and Rockfest, I've heard problems with them, but my buddy wants to go to Rockfest this year. He's got tickets. He's got a campsite already for me. So if I go, my plan is to take a bunch of this stuff with me and do on-site podcasts.
Yeah, dude, that's the way to do it. That's awesome. Because
I've connected with a couple of bands there already, some of the smaller bands that are supposed to be playing. Cool. So all of a sudden, if I let them know I'm there, I'm come by my tent, which will basically be my tent, but there's someone that has an RV there. I'll have my stuff hooked up to their RV, and all of a sudden just come over, hang out for 15, 20 minutes, talk to me. I'll have my stuff set up, and we'll just have a good time. That's what I'm hoping for. But then again, that might be what has to happen in 2021.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a lot of fun, though.
That's what I'm hoping for. And if I go to a major festival, next time I go to a major festival, that's the plan. Where it's I'm gonna take my stuff with me, maybe even rent an RV, and just be
yeah, man, hey, do it. Rent a Winnebago, dude.
Holy shit, that's what I'm doing next year. I'm saving my money for it next year.
Came up with it right here, right now.
Right here, right now. I'm saying Rockfest or Rock USA. I'm getting myself a Winnebago, and I'm doing the Chord Progression podcast on tour.
Sounds great, man. I'll watch it.
Yes. Okay. Now we have to talk about the dogs that you have. Just like you've got a litany of dogs just in your arms right now, Jordan.
I love these dogs more than I love life itself. These dogs are pretty much my life, man. Quick story. That's a whole another story for another time, but I got a small dog before named Tony, and I never knew that I liked small dogs. I never really have, because I've always had like little, like bigger dogs, like golden retrievers when I was a kid. Dog passed away earlier. Wow, is that already? Yeah, almost a year now. Last year, and I was just feeling really bad because I was just trying to build my life back up, and it was after like I recorded a lot of stuff with the album. But then I found this little guy, which is Teddy, on an online thing, and he was just a puppy. And believe this, they were dumped off in Texas when they were just like a week or so old. Yeah, and there were 7 puppies, and they were all scrounging around trying to, like, it was like 110 degree Austin, like Texas weather, and they were just dumped. And I was like, oh, dude, not cool. So then I got this little guy, but then I found out he was really bonded with this little guy, which is Freddie. Got my mind. And Teddy and Freddie were pretty bonded. And I was like, well, that's pretty awesome. I guess I could try 2 little puppies. I'm out of my fucking mind, though, because the small dog I had before was like self-taken care of. Like, he was not a bother to anybody. He would like live his own life because he was a street dog before. He'd curl up under his blanket, mind himself. If I came home, he was like, oh, cool, you're home. I'm gonna just chill by myself. These dogs need so much fucking attention. It's like, it's insane, dude. They're puppies. Like, I got them when they're like a couple months old. And then I stopped by their foster parents in Texas maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And I found this little guy, and he had a brother, but the brother was most likely going to get adopted, but he was the last of the 7. And everyone's like, oh, dude, Emerson's like the sweetest dog. Like, he's such a sweetheart. Like, if you know anybody that would take him, I'm like, well, I'll take it from my mom, because my mom like loved my little dog that I had before. I was like, yeah, I might as well. Like, it'd be a good gift. But turns out he bonded with these 2, and he really bonded with me and my mom. My stepdad had some stuff going on where, like, long story, but yeah, he became a quadriplegic for a little while. He had a really bad fall, and he was battling cancer and neck surgery and all this shit. And it was just like, nah, dog's not in the cards right now. But now I got 3 puppies at the end of the day, and I love them so much. And I need to post more quality content with them, like on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. But they take up a lot of my feed, don't you? I do love them dearly.
I would say, if you post more content than me, you got 3 of them, and they're all closely bonded with each other, and they're basically they're connected. So
too, like, they came with me to the studio, like in LA, like a week ago. Yeah, I just got back, and they were fine. They just chilled out, just hung out in the studio. They're cool with just chilling, and like, they're the coolest dogs. Like, they are high maintenance sometimes if you don't watch them, but they're on a good pee and poo schedule. They listen well, and they're so damn cute.
So, because you brought up small dogs, you brought up your original dog that was small, and it's like, kind of more independent, just did whatever it kind of wanted to do, wasn't really bothersome. Yeah. Kind of had the same thing with the dog that I had when I was a kid, because I had a small little beagle.
Dude, these are part beagle. Yep, that's cool.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they're Dachshund, Chihuahua, Beagle. Okay, because I can see Australian Shepherd mix.
I was like definitely see the Dachshund in them for sure. But like, I had this little Beagle, and like when we got her, it was like, 'cause my mom got her for me and my brother, my mom and dad got him for me and my brother for Christmas one year, and like, she was about maybe 2 months old when we officially got her. But when my mom went to go pick her out, like, there was like about 6 or 7 of them. And my dog was the runt of the litter, but not like just like any runt of the litter, like the runt of the runts. Like, this is gonna be, and super duper shy. And all these dogs were kind of going up to my mom, like, basically like, oh, pet me, like, just wanting the attention. And there's the dog that we ended up getting, just like cowering in the corner, like, just scared. All of a sudden, like, my mom went up to her, and she kind of started walking up to my mom, like, just a little curious. So my mom ended up picking that dog, and what ended up happening was, we had her for about 12 and a half years before she died. But like, it was something where I'd let her outside at like maybe if I got up in the morning, like when I got up like 8:30 in the morning, let her outside. She wouldn't come in the summer. She wouldn't come in till the sun went down. She just wanted to be outside, lay around, didn't do anything, just relax, do whatever she felt like. At night, it's like I'd come home and all of a sudden the only time I get attention from her, like I'd come home, it's like, oh, hey, let me out, feed me, and then I'm good.
Yeah, I know. They take care of themselves. Like these dogs are trying to get to that point where I can leave them alone. Like they haven't chewed my shoes or anything. They were definitely into that before, but they're starting to take care of themselves. The problem is if there was one of them, they wouldn't be doing the shit that they're doing. It's just that they encourage each other and they run rampant, man. They're just like, yeah, you want to do this? Let's go escape. Come on, let's go do this. Let's go fucking chew this thing. Oh yeah, like my backyard is destroyed right now because like they somehow found something in the garage and like tore up a wastebasket full of like old floppy disks and stuff. And they're evil little dogs, but I love them.
I love their evil cuteness.
I do, man. They're deceptive. They are very angelic demon dogs for sure. Huh.
So this is definitely a first of the Chord Progression podcast where we're talking about dogs and not only just talking about them, but like we can actually see them.
I know, they're the greatest, man. Like they come in like everything with me. I mean, like I think they're gonna be somewhere in my album. Like, oh, dude. Funny enough, so I very rarely swear, and it's only usually for like all intents and purposes, like just not shock stuff, but just like to make it work in the album. But I'm thinking about like they very seldom bark, these dogs, but I'm thinking about recording them bark and putting that as the censorship on the album. So it's like, yeah, like try to figure out this. They're like, what do you want to say? Like, what's a good rhyme? It's like, yeah, man, tired of all this bull. Yeah, these mother.
That would definitely be something because because every time you hear something censored, you always hear just the boop. And
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, I mean, you know what it is, but it's just when you come up with something more novel and that's just kind of stands out of nowhere, where you're like, what the heck? And if it works, I mean, it can work out real well. And I'm just looking at the posters up above my desk right now, and I gotta pull out this band once again. I gotta pull out Ice Nine Kills because on their song "It Is the End," when all of a sudden you get to a part and all of a sudden like the music stops and you hear the clown, like the little clown horn go. It's like, wait, how does like that makes like it makes sense that it's in there because it's about Stephen King's It with Pennywise the clown. It's
that music
all
video.
about that.
That was actually the first song I ever heard by Ice Nine Kills. And
yeah,
one of the few, but yeah,
and it's their most experimental song ever. But it's like I remember when I first heard the horn, I'm like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden I like just listen to the rest of the song. I'm like, that horn fit in so perfectly, but it was so silly the first time you hear it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I mean, like I'll run and I'll work out to It Is the End, and all of a sudden like I'm going crazy, and all of a sudden like I'm ready to lift. Like I have like
here comes that horn. Here we go.
Yeah, like I'm ready to start doing curls. All of a sudden I pick up the bar, and all of a sudden you hear, and I just start lifting it after it.
Let's go, man. Get that shit down.
Let's go. Just have fun with it. It's ridiculous, but like kind of with the dog barks as well. Like when you put something in there like that, it's kind of more novel, more.
It's me. It's very me.
I would say more novel, but if it fits because it's definitely you. And also it's somewhere it's like, you know, you start talking about the album, you start talking to some other people as well, start doing other interviews, and people ask you, why the heck did you put that bark on there? Like for the censor, you're gonna be like, that's actually my dog's barking. And because the album is so much a part of me and who I am, and these dogs are so much a part of that story as well. It only made sense to have them in there somehow. Exactly. And this was the perfect way to put them in there.
Exactly. And like a person who was in my band before had said this very well, and I still remember, is like, yeah, man, like, because he has his own band as well, and I was part of that, and he was part of my band, and he was just filling in every now and then. But he's like, yeah, man, there's just something different about your band where like in your music where even though you're talking like it sounds like about serious stuff, you still have this like light air about you, and like live it's fun, like you don't take yourselves too seriously. And I think that's a big part of who I am. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna have fun with it. It's a very serious topics I talk about, or at least sometimes on the album. And like, it gets sometimes really heavy in terms of like concepts. However, dude, like, let's just have fun. This is music at the same time. Like, I still want like people, and it's, you know, just that part of the complexity. So if I want to have my dogs be the censorship on the album, fuck it, let's do it.
Oh, easily do it, because it's too much fun. Yeah. And it just makes so much sense, especially if you're putting so much of yourself in there. Then if it's all you and everything you want to do about it, yeah, the dogs just are going to make sense.
Yep, nobody's going to tell me otherwise. Dogs are going to be censorship.
But can you get them to bark though?
That's the problem. I have to, like, they're very territorial. I found, like, otherwise they don't bark ever. Unless it's at each other, they just kind of like growl at each other, like, stop it, bitch. Like, that's about it. Like, when they're just playing around. But if I was staying at that studio in Los Angeles, also shouts out Sean Sullivan, who runs World Class Audio. I haven't worked with an engineer since, like, before him, since I was in like high school, because I've done everything myself with mixing and producing. But he's been doing the drum tracking for the person on the album, and he's the best. And he's also a very good friend of mine. He's super warm and hospitable. If anybody's in Los Angeles, go to him. He's in Riverside. But yeah, he let me stay with the dogs. He won't do that for everybody else, but he does that for me. But yeah, he came into the studio late at night at like midnight, because he's up till 5 a.m. and my dogs just went berserk. And I actually got a recording of that. And it's a rare recording, my friend. I never hear these guys bark. They're cute, but they don't bark very much. Unless they're trying to protect something.
Oh God, then you should have recorded my dog when she was around, because the barks that she would bark all the time, but it was something where it was, when she would bark, it was always something that would get her. But oh my God, it was,
beagles don't fuck around with their barks, dude. Like, they scream, dude. Beagles and basset hounds, they don't fuck around.
It was like the barker around the neighborhood. I don't want to do it fully, because right now, when we're recording this, it is late. The people that live below me are probably trying to sleep. I don't want to like freak them out, but it was just somewhere she'd see something, and her bark, it wasn't like quick. It was a low howl, but it was powerful, and it was long. It was like, like, I remember the first time I fully heard, I'm like, whoa. And I'm like 9 years old when it's like, what?
So loud.
And I'm just like,
so loud.
And then there were times where all of a sudden, like, our neighbors would complain about it, and it's like she'd start barking, and I wouldn't. It's like so many people would be fazed by it, and there's me just like, eh. But it's like if I'm like running around around my neighborhood now, or running on the trails right now, and all of a sudden, like, I see certain dogs, it's like, if I don't see them, it's like, you know, all of a sudden they kind of lunge, you know, like, oh, they're walking, they get excited, they want to eat, and like kind of lunge towards you, kind of like, oh, say hi kind of thing. If I'm on a bike, it's like, I kind of like, oh, you know, I don't see you. All of a sudden, like, I see a beagle, and it just kind of goes at me and starts barking at me. I am not fazed whatsoever. Like, I'm still focused. Like, I'm trained my mind to not care about a beagle bark. It's like, I could have a neighbor that lives, like, if my neighbor lived below me, if she had a beagle and would start barking, I wouldn't think any different of it. I'd been like, okay, it happens. I know it. Yep. I miss it.
Yep. Beagle barks are nothing to joke with. They are loud and hearty.
Oh yeah.
Soup or something.
That's why it's always funny. Like, in the neighborhood, we had the smallest dog, but we had the most influential dog in the neighborhood because of.
Yeah. Once that one starts going, the rest of them start going.
Well, there's still dogs in the neighborhood that still remember her from about 4. She's been gone for 4 years.
Wow.
Like, my best friend's dog. Every time he goes over by my mom and dad's house with this dog, like, walks past, the dog will still try and run to the back door to basically like say hi to my dog. And there's other dogs that'll do that too. I'm like,
amazing.
I think about it, I'm like, either they really miss her or they're still trying to like pay tribute or something in some weird way.
Dogs are amazing, dude. I'm a big dog fan.
My dog must have been.
I have 3 of them.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say my dog must have been the dog father.
The dog father.
Make him
man. That's really cool though that they can do that.
Make him a roo that he can't.
I'm trying to think. One of them wants to get off. Is it this one? Yeah, there you go. What do you think, Freddie? You going? Okay. Bye, Emerson. You can stay with me, Fred.
I was gonna say, one goes off, it's like the next 2 are gonna go as well.
They're still chilling, man. Like, they'll just play with themselves. But yeah, this one's got like a little bit of. The other ones are straight up brown. Oh, you growling at me? You don't like that. But yeah, this one has like a little black coat. He's just a pretty dog.
Yeah, you can tell it's a little bit more than beagle fur in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with the
beagle in you. Yes, you do.
That's why I like Fred the most.
Yep. See, he does this thing also. I trained him since he was a puppy and moved my mic a little bit. Where like if I look away, watch this. He'll put. Oh, sorry to the viewers at home who are only listening, but if I look away, he'll put his paw on my face. So watch. Oh, now you're not gonna do it? Are you camera shy?
Up there. There it is.
Oh, you trying to touch my face? Don't touch my face. And he's a big biter. He used to go to bed when he was just a puppy, and still now. I would like pet him and stuff, and he would like gnaw on my thumb just a little bit, and he would suck on my thumb. It was the cutest thing ever. It was like just sucking on my thumb while he goes to sleep, like a little baby.
I remember this was back when I was in middle school and high school too. I had some teachers that would come up to me and they always looked like they were concerned about me because I would have all these like scratches and bite marks on my hands and on my wrists, and they were concerned like I was like doing something myself. But the reason why I had them all on there is because there were times I'd start playing with my dog, and like we'd be like, she was one of the kind of dogs that's like, I have a toy, I'll go and get it, but I'm not going to give it up. So I always kind of like try and take it away from her. But what always would happen was if I got away from her, like she would like start like getting like annoyed, and I'd start like playing with my hands a little bit more, and she'd try and bite them. So It's like I'd have all these like bite scratch marks all over my hands and wrists. But it was something where even my mom kind of got annoyed when I would do it. She's like, "It looks like you're like harming yourself." I'm like, "No, I am literally playing with because my dog's name was Kirby. I'm like, I'm playing with Kirby, and this is so much fun." Like it was weird. It was like, that was the kind of like when I would play with my dog, like that was the kind of stuff that her and I would always have the most fun with her. It was like me just like messing around and her like trying to like bite my, like, it wasn't like she would never break the skin, but it looked like it was all scratched up and everything. I didn't care. I'm like, I still remember it was like it was like 3 weeks before we had to put her down though. Cause I think it was something where it was like a super aggressive form of cancer just took over. But then all of a sudden it was like the 3 weeks beforehand, like she was fine. I remember the last time we did it was probably it was the only time she ever came close to actually like basically making me bleed. It was the closest she ever came. And I was like, and then kind of looking back and I'm like, that was fun. But I'm like, damn, I wish the last time she would have actually got a little bit more and all of a sudden it would start bleeding because I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah. God, dude, these dogs do not like baths. Neither did my Tony. A little bit. Oh, God, see him? He's trying to bite me. You can't see that.
Yeah,
he's so bitey. But yeah, God, they hate baths. I just gave one of them a bath because, he got into some rotten fruit and he threw up on my carpet. I'm like, so I have to wash the carpet and gave him a bath because he's like a little pukey. And I still have scratches, like the big, dude, I have scratches from 12-year-old girls and like a few month old puppies, man. It's just scratchers, man. It's like a comedy routine. I keep coming back to stuff, but there's another one.
No respect.
No respect around here. No respect. No, this one right here. You can't see it again. This thing and this thing is just a scat. Yeah, you can't really. You can kind of see.
I can see the top one a little bit. Yeah.
This one's pretty pronounced too, right here. But yeah, it's just a nice vertical line, and like cutting yourself looks a little bit different than dog stuff, especially when it's on here.
Yeah.
But these dogs, man, they don't like baths. No, you don't.
He tried to express his opinion on baths when you said it because he was just like, And
he's touching the mic right now. The camera can't pick it up, but he's like literally batting. See, he's batting.
Yeah, I can see it.
I named him actually after going back to bands and stuff. I named him after Freddie Mercury because his name was Frederick, but I'm like, I'll spell him Freddie with an IE because I sound like such a hipster before the Queen movie. But no, I've always loved Freddie Mercury and like tried to model some of my voice on Queen stuff after his. And God, I love Freddie. And yeah, this dog acts a lot like Freddie. He's a little bit of a diva. He's a leader and he's a diva. Yes.
Oh man, that's a great way to go with the name for the dog. But I'm going to use that in a little bit of a transition point because like when you're talking about Freddie Mercury, like trying to like figure out like kind of maybe adding some of like what he would do in his vocals to yours, that's incredibly difficult due to the fact that Freddie Mercury has one of those like if you think about it, I always think about it this way. When I think about vocalists and musicians when it comes to like rock and metal, I can think of three that have these such a standout vocals that there is no way in the world that anyone will ever be able to come close to emulating those. And the three I can think of is Freddie Mercury, David Draymond from Disturbed, because it's just so like prophetic and preacher like. And then Chester Bennington.
Yeah, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park.
Like those three are like the top tier when it comes to like the most unique and powerful vocal styles, where if someone's going to try and emulate them, it's going to be basically an impossible task.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, Rami Malek did a pretty damn good job. He wasn't quite there, but a lot of it had to deal with how his jaw was, because he put those fake teeth in. And it was just part of just his style, Freddie's style with, I think it was the overbite or underbite. I can't remember. Stop trying to hit me. But yeah, like a very pronounced vocal style. All the ones you mentioned, like there's quite a few, like, what's his name from Rush?
Geddy Lee.
Go to Geddy Lee. Yeah. Geddy Lee from Rush, really pronounced. And, like even Robert Plant's howls from Zeppelin, like pretty, Ozzy, that kind of stuff. Like obviously people can imitate them, but there's nothing quite like the original.
Yeah, there's never gonna be anything quite like the original. But what I'm trying to think of, like, if people even like, I'm like, when it comes to really like trying to find something that could be like really close to it, like the only one I've really heard, like the new From Ashes to New song, Panic. It's there. I forgot what the guy is. Basically not the guy that's just kind of doing more of the unclean vocals. I listen, like, if there's someone that comes close-ish to Chester Bennington, it's this guy. Like, he actually does a nice job with it. But like when I'm like, he's not going to get up to that certain point. But then again, that's okay, because you don't want to get up to the certain point, that same point that Chester got to with his voice, because you're not going to get close to it. Same thing with Dave Draymond, same thing with Freddie Mercury. If you're going to try and emulate it to the core of what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, I just loved his voice specifically. And I like, talking back a little bit about emulation and whether, it's a sincere like form of flattery or if people are copying them. I think one of the biggest ones who last year created such a frenzy, I guess would use as Greta Van Fleet and Led Zeppelin, whether or not that's going to be considered flattery or just copying, even like just the sheer disdain of them saying, oh, no, we're not influenced by Led Zeppelin at all. We're influenced by Aerosmith. It's like, no, I don't think so.
It's like, because I've looked at some of their stuff too. It's like, it was really easy to put that Led Zeppelin comparison in with them. And I think it's cool, but it's like when you're just like, oh, we're just kind of influenced by Aerosmith. Like, you guys definitely have that Zeppelin influence there. Just kind of say it.
Yeah, and I'm not here to ever. I pride myself on not hating on other bands unless I sincerely don't like them. But even still, even if I hate them, it's like, oh well, somebody else likes them, so we have to understand why. What makes art and what makes it subjective. I don't feel like you can place like a grade value on that stuff, even though there's like Fantano rating stuff. But it's just like with Greta Van Fleet, it's just like the insincerity they have that kind of bothers me. But at the same time, I have to say that one song, it was like Highway Train or something. I'm sorry, Highway Song, something like that. It's a cool song. I just, you can obviously tell it's Zeppelin. If they would have just said, hey, yeah, man, we love Zeppelin. They're freaking awesome. Like, I've modeled my stuff after him. And it's still like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, we kind of copied them and riffed off of them. But hey, it's cool.
Yeah, I think they're trying to go against the whole, like, by saying like, oh, we're not influenced by Zeppelin, as they're trying to get away from people saying you're copying Zeppelin. I think that was the motive behind it. So there'd be more people that are kind of getting away,
because it's very blatantly obvious that they did.
Yeah, and it's something where it's like, I mean, they're still they're pretty popular, and they've got a lot of fans, and it's
good for them,
Yeah, it's like I like their sound. It's not a sound that I'm going to constantly go to just because that's not where my like favorite kind of sound lies. But like, if all of a sudden someone said, "Hey, I'm going to go see Greta Van Fleet in concert. You want to come with?" I'd probably be like, "Yeah, I'll go with."
Probably put on a great show, dude.
It's the same. It'd be the same way for me. Like with if someone offered me saying, "Hey, you want to go see Dance Gavin Dance with me?" There's some songs I like from them. There's some songs I really don't care from them. But if someone said, "You want to go to a show?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll go see Dance Gavin Dance."
Yeah, I agree. Like, that applies to a lot of things where I end up actually like liking the bands quite a bit. I'm like, oh wow, this band actually kills it live. The same with pop stars and pop artists. I was like, I really don't like this song or don't like the music, but damn it, they kill it live, man. Like, and even like in the hip hop world, like Kanye, like, man, oh man, that guy puts on a cool live, like some of his stuff during graduation. It's like really cool live performance stuff. And like, sometimes he'll nail it live, but then like the song comes on the radio, I'm like, ugh, another fucking Kanye song.
Yeah.
But man, people can live performance versus recorded music, completely different experience. And that's, I try to do the same, you know, because obviously I'm not, I can't play every instrument on stage
yeah.
live. So, you know, having the other people who do my live stuff come in and, you know, put their spin on it, and we work together and try to figure out what's best. Like, you know, I really appreciate their take on things, and because live versus record is way different.
Yeah, well, when it comes to a live performance, too, like for me, it's like that's how I got so big into Ice Nine Kills, because when I saw them live, it just took it to a whole nother level. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones where it's like I saw some bands live and I was like, holy shit. Even the band that was on before them with Fit for a King, like I started liking Fit for a King after seeing that show, because it was just or seeing them play before Ice Nine. I was like, oh my god, this is just something completely different. Like not different, but I was like, this is something like I absolutely like. This is great. Ice Nine Kills is something completely different. I'd never expected. I was like, hell yeah. I'm trying to think of some other ones where it's like just like the live shows where it's just like you're watching, you're just like, there is no way this is happening, and you just get this certain feel from them where it's just you're enamored by them. And that's why I love going to Motionless in White, because it's just both times I saw them, the absolute energy that was there was like they brought the energy, then the fans brought it even more, and the band just fed off of that energy. Just like it was constantly just increasing every step of the way, because it's like here comes the band, they're gonna show the energy, the fans are gonna be like, we're gonna one up you, then the band's gonna one up us, then we're gonna one up them. It's gonna keep going back and forth, the energy. Same thing seeing Beartooth. I was just like, because I liked Beartooth, but I watched them play live and I'm like, how the hell are they like, why are they going on first? Like, you can't beat this.
Exactly.
Because they went on first and then I Prevail went on it. Or they went on as like for the big three that were on that night, they went on first. I Prevail went on second, and it was just like I didn't care that much for I Prevail, but I knew it was a lot in comparison to the fact that Beartooth just came on with the energy and I Prevail couldn't match it.
Yeah, I get that.
And then all of a sudden, A Day to Remember comes down. It's just like, if anyone's going to match that Beartooth energy, A Day to Remember is the band to do it.
Yeah, A Day to Remember. Yeah.
I was like, damn, they should have put them on. Or I'm trying to think of some other bands that put on like just like live shows where it's just like you watch them and it's just, I'm just trying, like you watch them, it's just like you get even more into the band just because you're at a live performance for them.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too, because there's quite a few that I've been to. Like, I've seen Coheed and Cambria live quite a few times, just kind of like out of happenstance, because they used to be my favorite band like ever in high school. And some of the supporting acts, like Between the Buried and Me, like that was a killer show. They were really, really tight on that. Just like whenever I'm trying to think of a band right now, like I just recently saw where I'm like, wow, they really fucking killed it live. Like it's way better than the record.
Yeah,
just the energy.
I'm trying to think, because I can think of two more. There was one where I was seeing, it was in, both these are in Milwaukee. This was one I was seeing him at the rave here in Milwaukee. It's like our actual like local venue, and 10 Years was the headliner.
Okay,
but then Tremonti was opening for him.
Cool.
And I'm like, I like Alter Bridge, but I never really listened to Mark Tremonti's solo stuff at all. So I started listening. All of a sudden he played. I'm just like, okay, why didn't Tremonti go on last? Because Tremonti's playing a lot better than 10 Years did. And it was like something that got me more into Tremonti. And then all of a sudden, this is like 2012. One of my friends is like, hey, because this is when Summerfest, like they still had the rock stage. So they had a lot of good bands there. And he's like, hey, my friends there, we're going to see this band. You guys want to come with? I'm like, I've got nothing to do. So what band are we going to see? We're going to see Hollywood Undead. At this point, I thought I had never heard of a Hollywood Undead song before. I had no clue the band was, but I just wanted to go and I had free tickets. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. So I went there. I'm watching. I'm like, and they only had Swan Songs and American Tragedy out this time, so it was only two albums. And I was watching. I'm like, they're like got like that rap rock sound down right. This is fun. Yeah. All of a sudden, they go off stage and everyone's asking for like one more song. All of a sudden, I just hear from the back. The mic turns on. Everywhere I go, bitches always know. And I hear the fans sing the rest. I'm like, oh my God, I'm seeing the Charlie Sheen band.
Yeah.
and like, so I'm like, I made the connection there because I'd actually heard that song before. My brother showed it to me. He's like, this is just funny as hell. And then when I woke up the next morning, because he was back home because that was after his freshman year of college. So he asked me, he was like, oh, what band you go see? I'm like, I saw Hollywood Undead last night. Any songs I would know? I'm like, you remember the Charlie Sheen song you showed me? oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, I saw that band. And I know it's Charlie Sheen, not Charlie Sheen, but that's what we always called it. And he's just like, and all of a sudden he's like, you went to go and see them? God, you're weird. I'm like, what the hell, man? What the actual hell? I'm still trying to get to go see a concert with him because he's really gotten more into like EDM stuff lately.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't want to go. I don't want to go to any of those shows just because it just doesn't fit well with me.
Yeah.
But there is one style of music that he still absolutely loves, where we could go to a show and he could go to a show and do what he wants to do and just enjoy the show, do whatever the hell he wants to do. And I can enjoy the show the way I want to do. Get into a pit and go crazy.
Yep.
Ska.
Yeah. Good old ska groups.
That's the only one. And I was like, I was mad because, when was it? This was supposed to be a last weekend or 2 weekends ago here in Milwaukee. Less Than Jake was going to be playing. And I told my brother, I'm like,
Jake was pretty big on me when I was in high school.
I was like, I'm getting tickets. Let's go. And he's like, oh, I'm not sure because that's college graduation weekend. And here at the bar, we got a lot of stuff. I'm like, come on, dude, just do this one with me. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's not happening. But now I'm like, if I get a chance to see Less Than Jake, I'm getting tickets, or Real Big Fish, I'm getting them tickets again. Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Goldfinger's going to be the big one. If I can get Goldfinger, we're going nuts.
Yeah. Dude, Goldfinger. Yeah, I've seen the live stuff they did. Actually, the audio engineer I work with, Sean, actually is the guy who like worked with Real Big Fish through all of their records and stuff. And then he also, his claim to fame is Mars Volta because he edited that record. But yeah, like he's a pretty cool Real Big Fish fan. So I like quite a bit of stuff, man. Like I used to love ska with like a dying passion. I still do. It's just.
And even like the best thing about it too is I was even talking to my best friend, and because it's all weird. It's like, because it's kind of weird. It's like there's me, my brother, and then when we grew up, there were two kids that live across the street from us. And I'm best friends with the younger brother. My brother's best friends with the older brother. So we're all really good friends still to this day. And me, I'm more the punk rock, hard rock, metalcore guy. That's my stuff. My buddy, my best friend, he's more of that folky kind of softer style, like Jack Johnson kind of style. My brother is more into like the EDM stuff. And my best friend's brother, he's into like more classic rock. He's a huge Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty kind of guy.
Gotcha. Okay.
However, the one thing we can agree on is if we ever get tickets, if we all four of us want to go to a concert, if we want to get tickets to a concert that we're all going to enjoy no matter what, it's going to be ska music, because my buddy loved to listen when he had a motorcycle. Anytime he was driving, loved listening to it. My buddy's brother loves listening to it because he doesn't care. He loves the horns. And I just like it. It's too much fun to listen to. We could all go to a show. Could be the Goldfinger. I'll just pick Goldfinger because I've been listening to Goldfinger a good amount. We could go there. All of us could do our own thing, the style of show we want, just enjoy. And by the end of it, we'd be like, this was totally fucking worth it.
Ska brings everyone together, I guess.
It does. It's so much fun. I mean, come on. When you get the horns going in there, it's too much fun. And now I just saw that they're remastering Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. I'm like, I messaged my brother. He's like, I'm not going to download number 2. He's like, I'm definitely downloading Pro Skater number 1. He's like, I just want to just start out with Tony Hawk in the warehouse, listening to Superman by Goldfinger. He's like, that's all I need. I'll spend the $20 on that. I'm like,
exactly.
Because like, I'll still pop it in the N64 too. And it's still fun as hell to play.
I'm looking at I literally was doing, like I said, 3 days of spring cleaning, and I was going through my N64 games, and I'm like, all right, time to play some N64, because I do it like once a year. I'll play through my N64 games and my GameCube games, and like, love that. Love the old consoles, man.
Oh, I'm pretty much like right now. It's like I look at what I got. I still got my Xbox 360, which I don't play really much anymore. But like if I'm playing something, it's like, okay, by myself, let's just pop something in there. Like I'm playing N64 just because it's so much fun.
Exactly.
Just playing Super Mario and you're just jumping into them like, yay! Or playing my favorite, of course, Banjo-Kazooie. Just, getting crazy. Or Conker's Bad Fur Day, which is basically Banjo-Kazooie, but rated M.
Yeah, I know. Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's hard to find a copy of that thing. Rare game.
My brother, for my 23rd birthday, package shows up in the mail and it's addressed to me from my brother. I'm like, what the heck did he get me? I open it up and it's conquers bad fur day.
Yep.
And I asked him how much it was. He's like, dude, I found it for cheap. Like, how cheap did you find it? $80. I was like, holy shit. Like, that is fucking cheap, man. He's like, yeah, you happy about it? I'm like, oh, I'm real happy about it. This is great.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, those N64 games go for a lot, especially like I lost my Super Mario 64 cartridge, and I paid quite a pretty penny for a mint one. But I still have my old like Mario Party ones, but I don't know how you feel. So this is kind of polarizing, but I loved when I was like in preschool and kindergarten, Paper Mario. That was like my favorite game. I was like weird because I like to read stuff all the time.
Okay.
Paper Mario, ever play the original?
Let me see where it is. It's back here somewhere.
God, my allergies are kicking up too. Sorry, I'm gonna start sneezing in the mic.
Oh, that's all right. Now this is getting weird. I'm pulling out N64 games.
Yeah, what a wide variety of topics.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much what happens every time I get on a podcast like this. Like just random topics come up. I think, of course, I'm gonna grab the wrong stack.
Holy shit! Yeah, you have a ton, dude.
There's still one more.
Yeah, I still got
right
one more
now that I kept.
Yeah, there's still one more stack. It's in here.
Because GameStop freaking rid me. I was such a poor, there it is. Hell yeah, buddy. Hold on, let me go get hit mine. Sorry, Freddie.
I was gonna say I beat it. God, when was it? Did I beat it in 6th grade? Yeah, because in 6th grade there was one summer I decided I wanted to beat it because I got into like 3 levels and I'm like, I'm just sick and tired of this. I want to beat this thing, and I just ended up pulling it out.
Yeah, buddy. Here's my 3 games. This is my old Paper Mario cartridge.
Paper Mario, okay.
Yeah, buddy, we're twin. Yeah, and I got Mario Party 3. I got Mario Party 2 somewhere too, and I got good old Super Mario 64.
Yeah, I have good old Super Mario 64. I don't have any of the Mario Party games.
Wait, is that a KA sticker?
Yep.
Oh, dang, I got the E sticker. That's funny.
Oh, I got the KA when it was still kids to adults.
Yours pretty old, dude. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, because the KA, I mean, this came with the N64 when we got it, because everyone came with the N64 when we got it, but
Really?
Well, it was the launch title for it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so she was gonna say, yeah, so that's when they're still KA, because I think they switched over from KA to E in about 98, because I'm looking at some of mine like my favorite game of all time, Banjo-Kazooie, that's got an E, but if I go to, where is Diddy?
Boy, chill. Stop.
I'm trying to find it now. There it is. But then a game that came out a year beforehand with Diddy Kong Racing, that's KA.
Yep. There's another one. I'm going to look that up after the podcast. I'm going to look up to see what the values were assessed now at the different conditions of, the different types.
Yeah, I'll say this, like, none of these are mint condition, but I can tell you this, they're all functional because I've played every single one of these.
Yep. You have Ocarina of Time and stuff too? Somewhere there. I'm sure you do.
I know I have yep, there it is.
There it is. Cool.
The 3 the major ones I'm missing are Majora's Mask and then the Mario Party games. Otherwise, pretty much anything else you come up with that's big, I've probably got it.
That's awesome.
In these stacks.
I miss my old thing. Like I was saying before, GameStop freaking, I can't find a nice word for it, but they took and pillaged my money.
They ransacked your money.
Yeah, they ransacked me, man. They just went through and Trogdoored the whole thing.
Trogdor. Oh my god.
You got that?
Yes.
Wait, do I still have one that's stuck in it? Yep. I forgot about
Mario Golf.
Heck yeah, dude.
I can't believe it. Okay, this is definitely something I did not expect on this episode of the Chord Progression podcast. Is we talked about so much shit, and of course, for like the last 40 minutes, we've gone through dogs and N64 video games.
I know. It's a great way to wrap it up, kind of thing.
Honestly, it really is it's because we talked about so much stuff when it came to music, came to what you're doing with, especially with with you coming out with those albums that you're working on, what the thought process behind them is, and certain things with writing them and the mental illness theme, and just making sure everything kind of gets tied in there with what you want to do. So we covered a lot, and then of course talked about music, geeked out about it, had some fun, and looking at the time, I mean, this is definitely going to be the longest podcast I've ever done up to this point.
I was looking at the time too because I got a clock right here. I'm like, well, okay, we're booking time.
Yeah, because right now I'm looking
to make sure I got through all your hit topics. Was there anything else?
I mean,
requirements.
I mean, the requirement, there's never any requirement with the topics I want to go with. Like I said at the beginning, like before we even jumped on, this is just straight up like conversation wise. Whatever we start, whatever we go off on is whatever we can go off on. And just if we start talking about stuff like we start talking about, what's going on with the coronavirus and kind of like live shows and stuff, pivoting towards that, our live show experiences, talking about concerts, that fun stuff, talking about your music, just kind of however we went there. Then we bring in dogs and video games. Like, how the heck does this happen?
Yeah, man, it's just like a good old fashioned hangout session.
That's basically what I want to make this podcast, is talking with bands and artists and fans as well, but just making it so it's the most like fun and comfortable thing possible, where it's just relax and we talk about music, of course, but if we get on something, just let it roll.
Talk about it. Yeah, let it roll, man.
Because you never know. All of a sudden, you find out something like the fact that you love Paper Mario. I'm like, holy shit, I have that game. I beat it as a kid. And the thing that always pissed me off was because there was like two things that I missed, or like I didn't get before I faced Bowser at the end. So my health was just like 5 HP lower than what it like max would have been. I'm like, and I always was coming close to beating it, but I always needed that extra 5, but I couldn't go back because I was so far ahead. I'm like, no. I ended up beating it though somehow. I don't remember how I pulled it off though.
That's hard. My same buddy I was talking about before, he always was stuck on the cloud level. So
shit!
I love those levels very much. I need to play Thousand Year Door on GameCube though. I heard that one's almost better, but I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan of the N64 version. But
it was the original, and like with the N64 version of it, it's so hard to find a copy now. Because same thing with Conker's Bad Fur Day. That's why they were so expensive, because they came out right at the end of the life cycle. So there's limited quantities. But like Super Mario 64, it's going to be expensive, yeah, because it's a very popular game. However, is it going to be as expensive as those other ones that are popular that were released later? No, because there's so many of them out there. It's like if you have original Nintendo and you're trying to find the original Super Mario Bros, it's like I can find a copy for $15 if I want to.
Yep.
However, I try and find a copy of Super Mario Brothers 2. Good luck.
Exactly.
It's the way it is. But yeah, Jordan, take a look at time. I mean, 2 hours and 42 minutes on my clock right now. I know it's not the runtime of what the podcasting, because I'm gonna do a little intro for it, but holy shit, this was a good one.
We went through it, man. We went through it.
We did.
It was a great time, man. It was a lot of fun.
I think I got one more question before we sign off, and it's quick.
Cool with them.
When is there any release date expected for these albums yet, or is it still a work in progress?
Oh God. So yeah, I'll actually quickly plug a couple things.
That's the point.
Like I said, I'm strategically doing this because I want to be honest. The music is ready to go. I have upwards towards 36 songs. I have a couple other ones I'm working on too. I've teased this some different times. I'm working with my personal favorite drummer, like in the universe, and I'm very blessed to have him like as part of like my little friendship circle and family. And I'll do a press release on that sometime soon and like post videos on it. But he is the freaking greatest, and he is, like I've said before on different things, like he's part of a band I really enjoy. And his drumming style is very present on the album, and it's really what I needed to like push things to where I needed them. Because I feel like I think I've talked about this a little bit before, but I do all the instruments on the album, and it's like the one instrument I'm not as secure on is just drums, because I write ridiculously complicated drum parts just with different changes. And for some reason, like I was like, yeah, no, I'm just going to program this and I'll try doing it. And it just didn't work out as the way I wanted it to sound. So the single that's released now has kind of my program / me playing it. And I was like, yeah, it's all right, but it doesn't have that real raw feel that I wanted. And the guy that's performing on the record is just, it's night and day, to be honest. So I just went back to the studio. I'm going to go back to the studio again in 2 weeks. After that, I'm going to sit down and try to figure out some numbers on when I want to release stuff. I do know what songs I want to release next. I'm trying to hope for the next month, but this is what I will say. When I release the songs, I will be releasing them one at a time per month up until the album release date. So I will let everyone know pretty much, but I'm trying to get them started within the next couple months, like, just so I don't lose traction, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping I have The album's really complicated. That's maybe another podcast day for in the future. But like the way the album works, like once I release it, like people will start kind of putting pieces and stuff together. A lot of numerology plays into it with angel numbers and different, like everything is methodically placed, including like to the timestamps of how long the songs are. Like that plays a role throughout the album. It's pretty nutty.
You're really sequencing this thing to all hell. Holy shit.
Hell yeah, man. I'm a weird dude.
Yeah. Well,
but it's a lot of fun. It's cool. Like you make connections like that you wouldn't. I've always found like working within restraints is the best way to keep me on my toes. And like, you kind of like what we were talking about before, just like, yeah, I can't do this because it's part of my core. But what if I break this rule? And like, that's kind of like, okay, I need to make a song that's exactly this long. Let me play with some tempos and I get results that I would never got if I didn't do that. So, but getting back to your question though, I think it's going to be within the next couple months. And I'm dead set on that. Because I've been saying that for a few months now.
Yeah.
But
alrighty, well, as we bring this one to a close, here is what we will do for you on that one. When the stuff starts coming out, then when you start releasing the stuff, just stay in contact with me so we can kind of maybe do a whole entire like, oh, you know, it's coming out on this day or the album's coming out on this day. We can do a whole song of the day feature thing to make sure that kind of add a little bit more of the press release of it. Yeah. Plus, when the album does come out, if you want to do like another podcast when it comes out a month afterwards, just to kind of tie it all in together and really get down and nitty gritty with it, to talk about everything on there, about the sequencing of it and how much went into it, we can definitely do that.
Heck yeah, man. It would be a lot. It would be a blast. Sorry, I'm thinking a lot because there's a lot of dogs in my lap.
Oh, I know. All I got to say is just, I mean, make sure we stay in touch. But I mean, you've got my phone number already. So
just, yeah, man, it's going to be awesome. So, but yeah, is there anything else that's coming up in your schedule that you want to plug? Like, in
my schedule, not really, because I don't really know what band's going to be on for the Chord Progression podcast, the podcast after this one comes out. So I'm not sure, but basically for me, when I plug it, if I need to plug something, I always plug it in the outro or the intro, just because it makes it a little bit, because then it's just me, and it's just like me being like, hoo-ha, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of crazy
super
stuff.
Energetic. Maybe you should, maybe my puppies will make a band and they'll be your next featured guest. They're ready to rock.
Hey, just be ready to translate for them.
Yeah, they're ready to go. The first song is called Rough and Roll by the Pasky Pups.
For the Pasky Pups.
Pascual, the Pasky Pups. They have their own Instagram.
The Pasky Pups. Alrighty, well, one other thing we will make sure to do is when it comes to following Necessary Noise and Jordan Pascual on all of these social media platforms that you need to follow them on, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, even TikTok, or any kind of other crazy stuff where you can find where you can find merch for Necessary Noise and where you can, buy some of it. We'll put all that stuff in the description of the video or in the podcast notes so you guys can check it out. Are we getting the last minute fashion show here?
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get rid of these t-shirts. I got these t-shirts. I need to sell them right now. No, here's the front. It's pretty cool. Here's the back. It's pretty dang cool. But yeah, I got heck of t-shirts and I got, hold on 1 second.
We are ending this with a fashion show. We got to put on some music like bonnet. Oh boy, at least even without Jordan, we can still see the doggos. That is the important thing, especially for those of you at home listening, just not watching because we got something.
They, like me, have anxiety problems and they have to be by me 24/7. So, yeah, they'll just pop up every now and then. But yeah, I just got a couple different stickers. I just got these ones in right here. This is like what's on my Instagram. So
okay,
yeah, it's I think you're just gonna put that in the outro or whatever. But Nest_noise is what that shit is. And then just like just type in Necessary Noise and it's not the Kenyan hip hop group. And that's about it.
Yeah, I'll make sure that people can just take a look at the podcast notes or in the description at the bottom of the video and just click on it and just take it right to your stuff because that makes it as easy as possible.
Heck yeah, man.
And then we'll make sure we do that same thing for where they can find your merch to basically buy shit off me.
Exactly. Just put this right here in my forehead is like,
yes. It's a perfect way to end it. Well, Jordan, thank you very much for being on the Chord Progression podcast. As of right now, the longest Chord Progression podcast episode that we have had.
We're just buddies talking, man. It's
just
good.
buddies talking. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. And we will definitely be in contact because when stuff starts releasing from Necessary Noise, you guys are going to know about it on the My Song Day Rock 2000 Day page. And we're going to connect once again, once that album comes out, do another podcast episode and really dive deep into it.
Sounds great, man.
Alrighty. Jordan, thank you for being on, and I will talk to you later.
Bye, man.
Ooh, well, folks. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Chord Progression Podcast with Jordan Pascual of Necessary Noise. And let me tell you guys, this was a fun one because there was times where, we talked about the music. We talked a lot about the stuff that we love. We also got to geek out about, dogs and sometimes N64 games. We got to do a bunch of fun stuff, but that's what the Chord Progression Podcast is about, especially when guests come on. It's an environment. I got to be more grammatically correct on that one, where we can come and just talk to these artists and just have a great time talking to them. Literally, it's like sitting down and having a living room chat and just talking to them for like a couple hours instead of just something so rigid, so structured, which I'm not really a big fan of because that's not necessarily my style. My style is more just sitting down, talking, having a great conversation with these people. So bing, bang, boom, we done did it. And well, gotta say, this was a fun one and could have gone on a lot longer, but you know what? I thought that 3-hour mark, that was just fine. So on that note, I want to say thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast brought to you by My Song Day Rock 2000 today. You guys know we always bring the heat, and that's going to be it for this episode. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast brought to you by My Song Day Rock 2000. And you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty see you.